Call this meeting of the Baker County Commissioners to order. And welcome everybody here tonight. We still got a good crowd. We had a big crowd for the swearing-in ceremony. We welcome our newest commissioner, Commissioner Iverson. That swearing-in was at 4:30 today. We're glad to have him on board with us. We're going to open with invocation and a pledge. Commissioner Mobley.
Yeah, Chief, you want to come up and lead us in prayer for us? Yes, sir. Thank you.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for this opportunity to gather together with these commissioners, Father. Thank you for the blessing of them to our county. We pray, God, that you would bless everything that's said and done tonight. We pray that you would bless our first responders that are out in the field protecting us and our military that's protecting our country. Pray for our leadership of our country, Lord, that you would help us all to pray for them and that they would lead our country in the right direction. Well, we ask these things in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. First thing up is approval of the minutes.
Approval of the agenda.
Approval of the agenda, I'm
No
sorry.
problem, I got you back.
Second.
Approval of the agenda.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Elected officials. Seeing none. I do see one.
He's back there.
He's okay. All right, elected officials is okay. Public comments, I have one speaker card. Speaker cards are on the table in the middle of the back. If you need to speak to the board, if you'll fill out a speaker card and get it to Sarah or Kayla, we will make a point to have you speak at an appropriate time.
Well, Mr. Conkey wanted to come up. I told him he didn't actually have to fill one out to give his report from the Water Management District, but, so he's filling it out now, it looks like.
Okay, well, we have one other one anyway. Mr. Miracle? Come on up.
How are y'all doing today?
Doing good.
Commissioners, I appreciate the opportunity to speak to y'all today. Not gonna lie, I prepared this whole speech to give to y'all, but I ain't gonna bore you with the same numbers you already know. Y'all deal with the same thing I do every single day. We've not had a towing rate increase in Baker County, a substantial increase since 1989. We have an ordinance in Baker County that we just found out, talking to Miss Sarah, from 1989, and our increase has been 2% per year. That's fine. Cost of living has increased by 5.9, 8.7, 7.2. It has not been a substantial rate change. I brought a couple ideas to a few of the commissioners about changing these rates, and we were told that we would look into it, we'd check on that. And some of the things we'd brought up weren't great ideas, not gonna lie. I'm open to different changes. The attorney over here had sent something about possibly adapting to Putnam County's rates. I'm 100% okay with that. That would give us much better rates than what we're currently starting with, because we have nothing right now of any substance. We are working off of JSO's rate sheet, because Baker County doesn't have one. And the reason I've come to the commissioners is JSO falls under FHP, so every call I do out here for towing or law enforcement is set by their rates, not by out here. I asked them about changing the rates, and they told me to come see y'all first and get rates set for our county. Bradford County and Union County are both under Putnam's, I believe now, for their rate sheet as of this year. They just revised their new ordinance and all at the end of 24, early 25. So I just wanted to kind of bring this before y'all, see if that's something we could possibly get on the agenda here soon to see about getting some new rates.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
if you would bring us the rate or the rate sheets from Bradford, Union, and Putnam
Putnam?
County.
Yes, sir.
Get those to our staff so that can be presented to us on the agenda item.
Yes, sir.
And then we can take a look at those three rates and then see where we want to go. I agree with you that there's a lot of
Be
things
more
we need to
uniform.
look
Yes,
at.
sir.
And this is one of them. So if you would do some legwork or work
Yeah.
with Sarah?
But yes, sir, and a lot of those I've already brought to Miss Sarah,
So
emailed
get
to.
all that, and then we put it all together, and then she can do a comparison, and then get it back to us on the addendum item, and then we can take a look at it.
Typical, that'll work.
That's
And then with the Putnam rates, now FHP does not have a set of rates out here. Again, we
Right.
fall under JSO, so I'm not going to include theirs. I mean, I can if you would like to, just
No,
to see where we're
JSO is
comparing
a whole
from.
different ballgame.
Yeah, and that's kind of where we're at. We're
Union County-
doing JSO tows for Baker County,
Bradford, we're in the same ball.
the same area size. Yes, sir. Okay.
You've already provided.
Yes, sir. I brought all that down here.
Yeah.
Because we were working on this last year, but we had
It was
proposed something different, and it was not. Again, it was an idea, just trying to get something, and it was not of a good substance there per se.
Right.
So we went to something a little different, and we were looking for the surrounding counties that had a good rate for what we do
Mm-hmm.
for the area we cover. Because if you're going to Florida too, that's 33 miles from right here.
Right.
Jacksonville's area covers 10 miles, and each 10 miles has a new zone. Our zone goes all the way out to Baxter.
Right.
So their rates don't work great for what we do out here. That's a different type of towing. So,
Okay.
I say, and Putnam is one that FHB has rezoned, and they put Bradford into Putnam's rates as well as St. John's is into Clay now. Because they're by geographical map, not by location out here, what works good for us.
Right. I know it's something that you and I have spoke about as
Yes,
well.
sir.
So I would definitely, let's try to do that in the next couple of weeks and see where
Yeah,
we're at.
we had some questions that Rich was checking into for us. So
Yeah.
we'll have to get together with Mr. Trando to see
That's
if
fine.
he's got his questions answered.
Perfect. Anything else from me? Any?
Anybody else? I think we're good.
Tim,
Thank you.
thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Congratulations again, brother.
Thank you very
y'all.
much.
Y'all have a good one.
Yes, sir.
Where'd he go? Come on up. Thank you, sir.
Commissioners, Commissioner Iverson, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
I'm from state government and here to help. As you may have heard in the news of late, our governing board has declared a Phase 1 water shortage. So that obviously is a major, it's a big deal. We haven't done one in quite a while, but with, knock on wood, no hurricanes, and it's been a dry winter, a lot of those recharge points are at a point where we're now stressed. And if you watch our hydrology report of our board, you would actually see the Suwannee River flow just to your north is in the red. It's been that way for 2 months, so obviously we are watching everything. So the where of where this water shortage advisory was posted, it all in portions of Baker, Bradford, and Marion counties within our district. So basically the only part of Baker that's not in our district is your southwest corner, which is actually under the Suwannee River Water Management District. The why? We're below average rainfall over the past year. Countywide totals are at or below 40 inches in Alachua, Baker, Bradford, Duval, and Marion. In fact, for Baker, for January, you were 1.8 inches below normal. For the year prior, the 12 months prior, you've only had 36 inches of rain, which is 17 inches below normal. The 3-month precipitation forecast shows a below normal chance of precipitation. Some groundwater monitoring sites in Duval and Marion show at or below the 15th percentile. So that tells you the aquifer is pretty low in some spots. Reduced river flows and increased water resource stress, as I've discussed. Portions of the region classified in severe or extreme drought by the U.S. Drought Monitor, and your fire marshal probably shows you the big red blob over northeast Florida and central Florida. So who does this apply to? It applies to all water users that are encouraged to voluntarily reduce water use and conserve maximum extent possible. Wasteful and unnecessary water use is prohibited. Obviously, that's a pretty generic term. I would say in this time, if you're filling your swimming pool, that would probably be something you want to take a look at, or watering anything more than 1 day a week, and definitely between the hours of 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. is prohibited. I always say that's an easy way to remember it. Think of the old CB days, 10-4. 10 to 4, don't water, and you should only be doing once 1 day a week. This applies to residents, businesses, and property managers, and there are possible additional restrictions. So phase 1 is just one of 4 phases. So right now it's voluntary. It's like no kidding, folks. We're hurting for water right now. We really need to be conservative, saving our water, be very judicious. But if we go into 2, 3, and 4, voluntary is going to start transitioning into mandatory and prohibitions and so forth. So, and a big and big misnomer is people on wells are also under these same rules. I saw news on the news flash, a lady from Callahan, she said, oh, I'm on a well, I don't need to do this. And I was like, oh, I think not. Yes, wells are, domestic supply is a big part of that. So landscape irrigation guidance, voluntarily reduce your landscape irrigation and avoid unnecessary watering. Everything's dormant right now, but we have to be very careful because what's about to happen as we warm up, everybody's thinking spring, watering, planting new plants and grasses because obviously we got fried during the winter, but right now we're dormant. Adjust your irrigation schedules, check your systems for leaks and eliminate overspray onto paved surfaces or roads. No matter how hard you try, grass isn't going to grow on your driveway or the road. Water only when needed and up between 10 and 4. Low volume methods such as micro irrigation, soaker hoses, and hand watering of plants and shrubs are allowed. Water utilities and local governments, what are we asking you to do? Review and fully implement your existing water conservation plans. Maybe you have some in your local development code. If you're a utility, I'll be paying McClenny, Baldwin, and Glen St. Mary visits tonight. They have consumptive use permits. Every permit has a water conservation element with items that you're supposed to do. So we'll be asking for them to dust off and actually do what's in that conservation element. And then just evaluate additional demand management measures to reduce system-wide water use. So for Baker, I would just ask people to be very diligent in how they use their water, where they use it, and that'll go a long way. Because Baker is one of the worst counties in terms of the drought and the aquifer. So I appreciate your time. We're just getting the word out, and hopefully Mother Nature gives us a little springtime love. If
Any
there's
comments from the board?
questions,
Thanks, sir.
you have an awesome day, and welcome again.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Having no more speaker cards, we'll move on to the next agenda item, minutes from February 3rd, 26, regular session and public hearing.
That's your consent agenda.
I make a motion we approve the consent agenda item as presented.
So,
Well, we have a motion and a second to approve consent agenda items as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Moving on to new business. Presentation of vulnerability access results. Andrew, I understand you're the presenter tonight?
Indeed I am. Thank you guys for having me here, Commissioners. So I'm here to talk about the vulnerability assessment results that were recently completed for Baker County. So this project's been going on for a little over a year now, and we're finally coming to the tail end of this part of DEP's overall plan for the state. So I'm going to give you a real high level of why we're doing this, how we're doing this, and then we're going to talk a lot about Baker County itself. So what is a vulnerability assessment? A vulnerability assessment is simply, in this case, a study that's undertaken to identify the different types of flooding on community assets in both the natural and built environment. So why do a vulnerability assessment? Well, there's two main reasons. One, the state says you have to, and the other reason is that it's a practical reason. So as far as compliance goes, it is a state requirement adopted by the legislature in 2021 to complete a statewide vulnerability assessment. So the state wanted every county in the state to complete a vulnerability assessment by May of this year. Municipalities are mostly exempt from this requirement, as the county usually covers compliance for the smaller municipalities. In this case, McClenny, Glen St. Mary are all covered under the umbrella. Those does not preclude those municipalities from applying for their own grant or own other other avenues for funding to do their own assessment should they want to, but Baker covers them as far as compliance goes. The other reason is practical. So you all know where it floods here. Like you, boots on the ground, your EM, your sheriff's department, your flood departments all know where it floods. But you can't put on a grant application, well, we know it floods here. Here are pictures. This is a data-driven process that identifies the most at-risk hazards in the county as far as what assets are the most at risk. So this, I'm not going to read this whole thing to you, but this is part of the state law that was signed into law in 2021. And this identifies what is considered a critical asset as far as what the state's concerned. This covers everything from bridges, train depots, airports, evacuation routes, beaches, historical structures. It is an all-encompassing list of what is considered a critical asset. And so we took all of these critical assets. We got inventories from state, local, our own personal repository with the NEFRC, and compiled a list of all of these assets into a database. So with that, we took all those assets and started looking at flood hazards. So the state looks at a couple of different hazards. We're looking at current and tidal flooding, which is sunny day flooding, which we don't have here, and I'll explain why we don't have sunny day flooding here in just a few minutes. Storm surge flooding, again, not a huge risk here in Baker County as it is riverine. Now, what rainfall-induced flooding, now that is something that Baker County experiences. I mean, I know Doug just got done telling everybody that we don't have any rain right now, but when it does rain, and it's going to rain a lot at some point in time in the near future, rainfall-induced flooding will be experienced by Baker County again. And this is one of those, I'd rather have the information and data and not need it than need the information and data and not have it. The other thing we look at is compound flooding, which is two separate hazards all occurring at the same time. You see a lot of this in the coastal communities where you'll have a king tide, and then you'll have hurricane-induced storm surge, followed on right with 105 or a 500-year storm. So you can't just add the flood depths. You go, oh, we're going to have this much rain from this event, and we're going to have this much rain from that event, and just add them together. Hydrology doesn't work like that, as most engineers would tell you. So this is a whole different aspect. In fact, we're spearheading compound flooding in the region. We just finished a compound flooding study for Flagler County, and we're working to expand that throughout the rest of the 7-county region that the NEFRC covers. So these are the components of a vulnerability assessment. Again, is sea level rise not a factor here, but it is something the state recognizes and has a study, to the point we actually had to get a separate study to make sure that there's no tidal influence along the St. Mary's River that could be affected by sea level rise. So more components of the vulnerability assessment. 100-year storm. That is not a storm that happens once every 100 years. I have to correct a lot of people with that. It is probability, it is odds, it is just like playing the lottery. You have a chance that it could happen. We've seen back-to-back 100-year storms. It happens, so it is just a probability. A 100-year flood means that there's any 1% chance of it happening any given year. And anybody familiar with odds knows that you could have some pretty good odds. And again, 500-year is not once every 500 years we're gonna have a storm. It is just probability. There's a 0.02% chance of any given year of having that flood. The other component of vulnerability assessment is what is sea, lake, overland surges from hurricanes. This models hurricane storm surge, which again, we don't see here in Baker County, so it really wasn't modeled. We looked at riverine flooding and rainfall-induced flooding. So the state has mandatory items, and then the state has recommended items. So mandatory items is we collected the background data, which is all of the assets in Baker County that potentially could be at risk, along with that list that I showed a few minutes ago. We do then an exposure analysis, which we take all of those assets, and then we take the topography of Baker County, and we overlay a flood depth on top of that. And it gives us flood depths at each one of those assets. So we know just how much we're gonna have water at each one of those assets. And then we take that and we look at each one of those assets as far as what kind of asset they are. Is it a historical structure that's been here for a couple hundred years, or is it green space and wetlands? One of those is gonna bounce back a lot faster after a storm than the other. So we rank those higher on the sensitivity, so that way you can look at not just the flood depth, because the whole northwestern portion of Baker County is gonna be considered wet, because it's all wetlands up there. And so that's not nearly as sensitive as downtown McClenny, where if you have a storm here and water gets in some of the historic buildings here, it's gonna be difficult bouncing back from that. So those are the three main components of what a vulnerability assessment contains. The other state recommended items is community outreach and public presentations of the findings. Here we are. I am presenting the results of this. And then the focus area workshopping by a steering committee. That's usually a little bit more involved with the coastal communities and less for the more rural communities. We broke it all down based on the EM districts you guys have here in Baker County after working with county administration. Okay, so this is how we got to the methodology of how sensitive things are here in Baker County. So we took Baker County and we overlaid a 1/4 mile hexagonal grid over the county border. And then we ran our analysis over each one of those hexes. So Baker County is broken down into 1/4 mile segments in this analysis, so we can pinpoint the most at-risk sections of Baker County. So we scored it based on 5 factors. We scored it based on flood exposure, social vulnerability, population density, natural resources, and Baker County specific drivers of vulnerability that were worked out with county administration. Sorry, there's a little delay between that and this, so please bear. So we looked at flood exposure based on how much of the land in that 1/4 mile hex is within the 500-year floodplain. We looked at the people and community factors. Social vulnerability reflects 30 census-based indicators, and population reflects the number of residents in each area. The natural resource is higher scores where areas intersect wetlands, lakes, streams, tributaries, and the major rivers. And then the county drivers of vulnerability, we did that to capture some of the local conditions. So we prioritized ecological corridors, landscape integrity, aquifer recharge areas, septic concentrations, and trail priorities. So everywhere that Baker County has a high concentration of septic, aquifer recharge points, those were all scored higher. And then we also included a rural and forestry context, considering just how important the forestry is in business is for Baker County. So we added in additional indices for that. So, Baker County. Now we're going to talk about the nitty-gritty of Baker County. So what do the findings tell us? Baker County is generally a higher elevation. It's about 125 feet in some areas above sea level, which is fantastic, but doesn't mean we don't have a lot of low-lying areas in Baker near the rivers and tributaries. And as you know, they still remain prone to flooding during extreme weather and other heavy rainfall events. So this assessment evaluates the full statewide hazard set, which shows Baker County's most consequential risks are riverine flooding and heavy rainfall flooding. Again, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but this is backed by data, which will open up a lot of doors in the future for funding and other additional grant opportunities. So, what else does the data tell us? Baker County currently experiences extensive flooding across the 100 and 500-year floodplains and is projected to experience significant future rainfall as later planning horizons approach. Numerous cultural and historical assets, including historic cemeteries and structures, especially around McClenny, are at significant inundation risk under both current and future conditions. Transportation access is a major vulnerability. Portions of County Road 127 and US 90 and almost every national forest road can be flooded in many storm events, impacting mobility, response, and continuity. Multiple historic bridges, both rail and road, are identified at significant risk, creating cascading impacts for evacuation and logistics, plus the cultural heritage aspect. So this is a map showcasing some of the work that NEFRC has been doing with as far as digital modeling. So this is a future extreme rainfall map, and this is planning horizons out to 2040 and 2070. So using the model that was developed by the state with regional council partnerships as far as a CDBG block grant that we had, we developed this future extreme rainfall so we can accurately predict rainfall in 2040 and 2070 as far as how much we're going to have. And this data is easily available to any Baker County, your GIS department, your CRS users, all of that is available. So again, I mentioned earlier that we broke Baker County up into quarter-mile hexes, and these are maps showing 2040 and 2070, and these are sensitivity. So I was talking about where we score sensitivity. You can see all the wetlands up in the northwestern corner of Baker County are all considered very sensitive, because wetlands are in fact very sensitive. But you can also see just how much more rainfall and how much more sensitive area is going to be in 2070 versus the 2040 conditions, where there's a whole lot more red on the right side of the map than there is on the left. So the right side is those 2070 projections, and this is a 100-year, 24-hour storm. So in addition to the hard-coded data that we collected for this assessment, we did a couple extra things to go above and beyond for Baker County. We did 3 major parts of this project in addition to the data. We did a study commissioned by Taylor Engineering, studying the tidal influence along the St. Mary's River to see if St. Mary's is expected to receive any tidal influence. We did a green roadways design charrette with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Silver Jackets program. And then we've also done a flood vision drive-through, which I'll explain what that is here in just a moment. So this is a map showing how far tides influence the St. Mary's River. As you can see, doesn't quite hit Baker County, but we couldn't say definitively that there's no tidal influence without some math backing that up. So there is no tidal influence extending down the St. Mary's River to be worried about either sea level rise or storm surge induced inundation. In March of last year, we did a green roadways design charrette with, or just a confab, a meeting with the Silver Jackets, Department of Transportation, DEM, and the council were all present. We collected folks from engineering firms, nonprofits, and brought them all together and had a whole bunch of maps printed out, and we're like, where is the worst parts that you guys see with boots on the ground knowledge? So we were trying to combine our actual practical knowledge of boots on the ground with the data we had collected at that point to try to come up with new solutions on existing problems. And really what it turned out to be that green infrastructure is going to be a major part of making Baker County more resilient to these things. So, partners came together to find practical ways to reduce roadway flooding by bringing together county staff, transportation partners, and local professionals in one room. And we did that. We did identify 4 flood-prone roadway areas that were prioritized for action: Calpens, Cruz Road, Steel Bridge, and South County roads. That is boots on the ground knowledge based on county staff saying, we have problems here. So we confirmed real and recurring access issues during heavy rain, including roads that flood quickly. So this is all just going to go in to help prioritize adaptation and how to best mitigate some of these worst case scenarios.
And let me ask something
Yes, sir.
there. On these county roads, have you looked at state roads?
All
'Cause
roadways and
90
evacuation routes are encompassed in this, and I mean,
US 90 floods like if you're going towards Baldwin, we've had to shut that road several times. So,
Yeah, we can pull whole roadway segments from our data and analysis and tell you just how much water you're expected to have there.
'cause I've always wondered why the state didn't come in and fix that.
Well, the state could now with the new data they're going to have. I mean, it comes down to, is there a need? And Baker County can now definitively say, yes, there is a need to have the state, and we can prove it that you guys need to come out and do that. So this is just a way that you guys can start a conversation with the state to maybe, you know, poke them with a cattle prod a little bit and get things moving. This is also going to open doors for additional grant opportunities. Again, like I said, so this is just
Finance.
one part of a couple different steps that you'll get additional money, essentially, because you can't go to a philanthropic entity, the state, the Fed, and say, hey, there floods here, please help us. But now you have a data-driven analysis that shows definitively, empirically, that you have problems in this particular area, and you know just how bad that problem is. So you can say, hey, we know this does this when this happens. We want money to help fix that by doing this. Is kind of what this is going to help spur.
I think that's later in the presentation too. Isn't it? I think we talk about that later in the presentation, County Road
Yes.
127 and 90. Okay.
Yeah, I did mention it.
I mentioned it right
Yeah,
there.
County Road 127, US 90, and almost every
Right.
national forest road floods. I tried to keep it real high level in this. I mean, if you wanna sit down with the data, we can sit down with the data and go a deep dive on it. I'm happy to do that. So as far as, I'll continue on with the green roadways design charrette. So it was a clear theme across many of the conversations. Use green and common sense fixes, targeted drainage improvements with natural features and open space. So box culvert's great, but you want that combined with other. It's this hybrid infrastructure that we're seeing a lot more of now. Everybody loves like living shorelines, but you need that. You can't just either have a seawall or a living shoreline. It's a lot of this hybrid gray-green infrastructure where it both complement each other. So we looked at longer-term risk reduction options such as conserving or buying chronically flooding lands for storage and green space. Really what that design charrette taught us is that you need a countywide H&H study. That's there's no question that needs to happen. And ongoing coordination with FDOT and Baker County is gonna continue. So again, this is how we get the state involved, by making the state aware of these issues. Not that they weren't, they might have, but now we can definitely be a squeaky wheel. The other thing I wanted to talk about we had come through Baker County was flood vision. So flood vision is a really, really cool newer technology that's come out. So this is their flood vision rover. They drive this all over the country, and it uses LiDAR. And they take our flood data and combine it with the imagery. It works a lot like Google Street View. So where you can drive through and you just see all the world around you. But they do this and they can get actual like horizontal and vertical data as far as how tall a section of the building is as they drive by it. And then we can overlay, for example, we can overlay actual floodwaters into that image to show potential flooding. It's looking at a map, seeing, it's red there, and that means we're gonna get 2.5 feet of water. It's a lot easier to show what 1 to 3 feet of water is gonna look like in this. I mean, this assumes absolutely zero flood defenses. This is really just for visualization purposes to really get the idea of, okay, how bad could this get? And again, Sheriff's Complex, and then Steel Bridge Road. So this is 5 inches of water above the road level is what that looks like. So we did have the flood vision folks come through, and we do have a whole litany of images that they produced for us based on the most at-risk assets. So, what can you do with this vulnerability assessment? One, you can identify the areas of Baker that are most vulnerable to flooding at a broad scale. You can identify which areas of Baker are least suitable for further development based on current and future flooding conditions. You can identify areas that span jurisdictions that would require collaboration and interlocal agreements, such as McClenny and Glen St. Mary. You can identify focus areas within Baker County. You can drill down those EM districts even further to really prioritize some districts. You can overlay county residential or other data with the GIS flood layers, as you do with the GIS for 100-year and 500-year flooding on the FEMA flood maps. You can do the exact same thing with our analysis. You can prioritize assets that are the most at risk, so that you know, okay, well, we're not wasting money protecting something that might see damage, whereas we can spend money on something we know will see damage. Really, the next step after a vulnerability assessment is to develop an adaptation plan. And an adaptation plan is just kind of a cookbook of ideas and strategies to help mitigate flooding. For example, improving drainage, and all those adaptation plans usually encompass a lot of things, like it's a beach management plan if you're a coastal area, where you do beach renourishment and then dune mitigation and then dune replanting, and all of these things. It's like a holistic look at how to combat flooding, as opposed to well, we're just going to add more culverts and divert the water into the wetlands. So that should be really the next step, is adaptation planning, and the state does provide grant money for that. You can identify and prioritize projects that may be suitable in different locations based on water depth. You got a developer coming in and saying, hey, I want to put a new housing development right here. And this assessment shows, well, it's going to see a lot of water in the next couple of years. You can help use that to make an informed decision on certain developments. And then you can identify funding sources. Again, this opens the door to funding sources. That is the whole point of this, is to have concrete data to supplement your boots on the ground data. So, what should happen sooner than later? Protect access and evacuations. You want to prioritize your roadways. That is the most important things, especially, like you said, County Road 127, US 90. Harden those must-stay-on services, wastewater, water services, lift stations. These are those critical things that need to stay operational even when it gets bad. You want to move projects from planning to shovel-ready. You can use some of those Green Roadways design charrette outcomes to help advance near-term while you're looking at far-term projects. So yeah, again, don't overinvest in tidal fixes. There's no tidal flooding here. Riverine and rainfall-induced floodings are the most at-risk things here. Sorry, I threw a whole lot of words at you. Real quick, what questions can I answer?
Any comments from the board?
Yes, I got a couple. Which would be the first in those scenarios to be untravelable on the assessment? For like US 90, 127, those
we
evacuation
looked at
routes.
these are all going to be 500-year storms. So anytime you're looking at a 500-year storm,
Yeah.
you're going to see some of these effects.
'Cause-
And I mean, I can pull specific road segments based on linear data as far as which sections of those roads are going to go first. And a lot of times that's based on existing drainage in that area and the roadway elevations. Offhand, I can't tell you. I'd have to look at our map.
Because I'm just kind of adding on to what Commissioner Hartley was speaking on, like US 90, I believe, is a state road, obviously. So we could provide this data to them and then see what they could do about raising up through that area.
Yeah,
correct?
or if nothing else, just adding additional drainage to the area to move the water away faster. But yeah, this is definitely additional ammunition you've got to go to the state and say, hey, we're having a problem, and here's what it is, and here's the data to back it.
Sure.
Because, as we know, the state doesn't always talk to each other. So the DEP might not share this data with the FDOT, so you can take this state-sponsored data and hand it to FDOT and go, hey, we've got this, what can you do? Or you can start looking at targeted grants from FDOT or FDEM. Speaking of, there is an agenda item later talking about the FDEM Watershed Management Grant, which this information will help inform that. So the vulnerability assessment data helps finish that FDEM work already. So this is just, like I said, it's a key in the door to opening up additional avenues to help protect Baker County.
Okay.
Yes,
We
sir.
have multiple areas on 90 that we know we have flooding. Margaretta, between here and Baldwin, there's multiple areas that need to be addressed. We can work with the state on that. But we have many back roads, small roads, that either wash out, stay flooded, or covered with water. So it would be a major undertaking for the county to start correcting major areas of that
Oh, for sure.
financially. So without grants and without state or other support, it'd be difficult to correct some of these problems.
Yeah, but the whole point is to help prioritize these projects. So where is the worst of it going to happen, and how can we mitigate that? Is really the whole idea. This isn't going to get any better. It's mostly how do we live with it and work around it is what we're looking at now.
Which is part of your adaptation plan.
That's
You
correct.
have to adapt what's going to happen.
That's correct.
And I think you hit the nail on the head with prioritizing, which is what is worse.
And that's the
me-
whole idea, that sensitivity. Like you got tons of green space and wetlands, and yes, that is all very sensitive land. But you may want to look at just how sensitive in certain aspects that is. And we've got it all broken down as what assets are most sensitive, and it's easily sortable. And we'll be coming back with more for that.
Now, is these floodplain maps and everything that you've got, is it going to be available to, say, contractors, developers?
This data is freely available. We're looking to work with your GIS department on getting them all of this data and spooling them up on how best to use this.
It would be really helpful when you got developers coming into the area and they fix and build in a swamp, but they don't know it because it's hadn't rained for 6 months.
I was like using the old Monty Python and the Holy Grail. You build a castle in the swamp and it sank into the swamp. Well,
Well,
you
you
keep
build your house around a cypress tree, you know that there's something not right with that.
exactly.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
We typically take a motion to accept the report.
I'll take a motion to accept the report.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the report as stated. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Report has been accepted.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate the regional council taking care of this for us.
You know, we look forward to continued partnerships with Baker County at the regional council level. So
You will as long as I'm president there.
don't worry,
We have representation there.
we have plenty of representation here.
There you go.
Thank you.
We do have special session at 6 o'clock, so we're going to move on through some of these items. Chief Nelson, you have a couple coming up.
Yes, sir. The first item I wanted to speak on is just a grant acceptance for,
So you're not on your phone?
yes, ma'am.
There you go.
Grant acceptance for 12 AED projects. One of our beloved commissioners, actually, he's chairman now, presented this to me, wanting to see about getting some AEDs out in the community and then some more government buildings in our community. We have put in for our Department of Health grant. This is a matching grant, and it will put 12 AEDs with signage and a cabinet. The total cost of the project is $31,677. But the match is only $3,167.72 or 10%. We do have $25,000 in our grant budget account already that we set aside for, and I'll explain it in a minute on the second project. So we have $25,000. This would use $3,167.72 of that for our portion of that. So this is to seek approval and also to accept the grant and also to purchase under our current purchasing contract, which is a national contract through, that's which we buy all our medical supplies through. So,
So we're approving the grant acceptance and approving the purchase. of
Yes,
the
sir.
equipment.
yes, sir. And we will get other bids. It won't just be one bid. We always seek out more than one bid on these projects to make sure the pricing is right. So,
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Mop, Commissioner Mobley?
What's going to be the process on getting these out to the community? Will there be an application, or
yes, sir.
is that
we-
something we're going to look at?
We're going to have an application process to where they, say it's a church.
Yes, sir.
And they don't have an AED at all. And we'll prioritize the ones that maybe have an AED versus the ones that don't.
Yes, sir.
And then they will put in, and they will have to provide at least 5 people from their church that they are willing to commit and be at training to learn how to use the AED. Okay? And then from that the responsibility from that point on will be for them to maintain the training and the machine. Say it needs a battery in 10 years, they'll be responsible for that portion of that. They're not
Gotcha.
that expensive, but their portion of that would be to provide us an application. We'll go out and train them, and we'll make sure that we train at least 5 people.
Okay.
So,
But we'll advertise it for them to submit the applications to us and everything.
right.
Okay.
And we're trying to target some of the smaller churches that maybe don't have an AED, and then some of our government buildings that, like currently this building here, we don't have one.
Right.
And it was definitely one on my radar. So
Okay. Yeah.
making sure there was one on a couple of levels of the courthouse. So,
I also wanted to I doubt they watch, but Commissioner Channing Dobbs and Commissioner Donna Jackson from Union County reached out to Commissioner Mann and myself at our last meeting with Northeast Florida Regional Council. Or not Regional Council. That's not
Solid
me.
Waste.
Solid Waste. I'm sorry, I got that one.
Tri-County.
on mine. Yeah, and they were telling us about the grant too and how it benefited a lot of churches in their area.
Right.
And so it's something we definitely wanted to look into, and I appreciate you reaching out and looking into it, and
yes, sir.
hopefully helping the community with it.
Yes, sir. But this is the second time we did this after we had, and I can speak about this is not a HIPAA violation. His mom's told me I could do this. When Ryan Jacob had his incident at the high school,
Yes.
we did one big push in the community, got a dozen AEDs out. Actually, we got 15 out in the community.
Wow.
At that point, we hit some of those sports related, and now we're coming back to get some of these other venues. So,
Good. Okay.
Mr. Ashton?
There'll be some type of contract you enter in with whatever organization you do. This is your responsibility, and
we'll make that a part of the training. Yes, sir.
I
With the
think it would be good, so everybody is aware of what they should be doing, and then what, not just telling, you gotta have 5 people. If they're signing that they're gonna have 5.
5 people, and then
Whatever.
annual training on it, and
And they're
thing-
responsible for the battery, the
Right.
county's not gonna be responsible for the upkeep and the maintenance.
testing it ever so often. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I move approval of the grant acceptance.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the grant for AEDs. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Chief Nelson, you again.
Yes, sir. The second one is to purchase 2 life packs through another grant, the same type, it's the same grant. It's called an EMS matching grant. It's 10%. The 2 life pack monitors would go on 2 of our primary rescue units. Our current life packs are 14 years old, and they have a life expectancy around 8 to 10 years. They're still good, but they start to have parts issues and things like that. We do annual maintenance on them, actually biannual maintenance on them. So, but this is to start replacing those. We put in for 4, and they only have a limited pool of money. They're trying to split. If you'll look at I think it's the second page, you'll see how they had $1.9 million, and they split it up between a lot of departments, as you can tell. And a lot didn't get 2 grants. We got 2 grants, so we were kind of blessed in that. But they only let us we put in for 4 AEDs, which was about $260,000 for 4 of them, and they only gave us money for 2 of them. So I would expect it to come back to the board at a future time, the fire rescue department, to try to get at least 2 more next year. So, but at least we can get 2 new ones on the trucks and get them, you know, moving forward. Again, this is done under another purchasing contract, so, and there's really for these life packs, and what a life pack is, just for everyone's, these are the actual defibrillators, pacing machines that we keep in the rescue units. They are portable, and they have the 12 lead capabilities. These actually have more capabilities. They'll transmit the EKG to the hospital and things like that. So they're very capable machines. There's only 2 companies that make these type of machines for the portable use out in the, and that's Zoll and LifePack. So pretty much limited on who you can choose. So you have to go and find contracts to purchase these. So that's what we would ask to do. Our match would be $13,000. And as I said earlier, we had 25,000 because we were guesstimating we were going to need that to match for all 4. We would need 26, but you get the point. So we still have enough money there. We have 13,000, and you know we have from the other grant, so we have money to do this, our portion. So this is seek approval on accepting your grant and also to purchase the items.
Make a motion to approve purchasing and accepting the agreement.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the purchasing of the grant. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all.
I'm not familiar with the CDBG program. How long will that take us?
It shouldn't take long.
And that'll, yeah.
It's,
9 till.
Take a break.
yeah, let's take a break and we'll do that when we come back.
Sorry, Spencer.
We're in recess? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we're going to recess until 6 o'clock. Call this meeting back into order. We're going into special session. Public hearing. Excuse me. And we have one item to address. Ms. LaDonna?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman, board. I just have one item for you guys this evening. It is a second reading item, but this item has been deferred, so I'll be a little more thorough than I generally am during a second reading. Okay, so this application is for subdivision for development review, preliminary and final review. This property is located just off of I-10 on County Road 229. It's just north of I-10 along 229, Wire Mill Road, and Arnold Roden Road. The applicant is Arrowwood, Florida LLC. We are discussing 300 acres, just over 300 acres, current land use of Ag B, and a current zoning of Ag 7.5. The applicant proposes to record platted subdivision lots, but they won't actually be the ones developing them. The lots, once recorded, would be available for individual purchase, and the buyers would develop them. So you'll see here, this area, with it kind of being in that centralized Sanderson downtown area, there is a lot of different land uses and zonings in this area. So I did kind of zoom out the maps a little bit so that you could see there is a good mix of ag lands, commercial, residential. It's a kind of a mix of everything in this area. So you'll see from the FEMA map there at the bottom, there is a good portion of this property that is in the FEMA flood zone. So you'll see here, this is kind of the proposed site plan. I did split it up so you could see it a little larger. You'll see here is 229 here, and then this is also 229 here. So the highlighted portions that you see are the shared driveways. So for example, this lot here and this lot here would have a shared drive. So that's what the highlighted section is for. So when we had initially heard this the first reading, that was one of the items that was discussed. That very first reading, each lot had its own individual access, and you'll see that several of those have been combined to share driveways. So since our last meeting, this is a lot layout that was provided by Arrowwood. We did have heavy conversations about the FEMA flood zone and the number of bona fide wetlands that were on this 300 acres. There were about 48% bona fide wetlands. So you'll see that here. Those are the kind of a brown and yellow gold layouts there. So the applicant did provide us with kind of a site depiction here that would show you the yellow squares would be the house footprint, about a 2,000 square foot home. The green circle shows you the 100-foot WUI radius around the home. And then you can also see that in relation to the lot lines, the delineated wetlands, and the FEMA flood zone. So while the applicant is not developing the site, this would kind of be just an aerial overview of what it would look like with homes that proposed in the area. You can also see there are some faint lines with the shared driveways for a proposed driveway layout. So this would not, of course, be any way binding that that's where the house had to go. It would be up to those individual property owners once it was purchased, but this was just to show a feasibility for a home layout on each lot. So here, this is their letter that was provided from the Water Management District. In divisions of property of this size and scale, the Water Management District is generally not involved, really until we're permitting the house and we're actually disturbing earth. But just simply subdividing the larger tracts of land, the Water Management District generally would not be involved. We wouldn't normally see a permit from them unless it was the applicant that was going to be developing the property. So the other letter you'll see is from Kimley Horn. A lot of your DRC comments talked about the number of wetlands and the proposed soil type. The applicant did have Kimley Horn do an environmental review of the soil. We did get that this morning, but it was not attached to your agenda packet, but I think Kayla has passed that out for you to be able to see. But here is that determination. It kind of talks about the types of trees on the property, the types of soil, and those proposed home sites depicted on the previous slide that you saw. So if you just kind of want to brief overview of it, it was Kimley Horn's opinion that the environmental conditions on the subject site were suitable for single-family lots as proposed. So we did, from the very first staff report you saw, this is several pages longer than that initial staff report you saw. DRC comments are very much the same that they were the first time that you saw this application. We've actually had a few more eyes on it. You'll see there's some additional DRC comments. We had our civil engineer, Troy Tarbox, take a look at it. We wanted to make sure that we crossed our T's and dotted our I's. So you'll see there are some additional DRC comments in there. So from talking to the applicant, one of the concerns from DRC and staff, there was a concern that while these wetlands would be platted and that is made public record, the average property owner buying a piece of property isn't necessarily looking at that plat and studying it the way that we are. So having some conversations back and forth, the applicant has agreed that they would put some verbiage on those individual deeds once they were sold. And so you'll see that here. And the proposed verbiage says, grantee is hereby placed on notice that the described land may contain wetlands, the presence of which may affect the sitting and placement of structures. So while that is not a requirement, the applicant has agreed to do that. Staff does still have the same concerns we had before, but it does appear that the applicant has met the minimum requirements for this type of development within our
Let's
code.
be careful about
So
that. It's not the minimum, they met our requirements.
So they have met the requirements per our code, so, as far as I can tell. So, if you have questions,
Questions from the board? I do have a speaker's card.
Let him speak and then we'll.
Okay.
do our questions.
yeah, so is the speaker card from the applicant? Is
No.
it from, oh, okay. Okay, I was
Ms.
gonna say
Rowe?
the applicant is here as well, if you have questions for them.
Ms. Rowe, can you come up and speak with us?
That should be able to catch there.
I'm against it. I've been there over 20 years. One, it's not gonna help the traffic in the road anymore. You've already got a business running up and down that road. That's just the minor thing. The water problem, I own 2 pieces of property. One of them butts right up against the property that the gentleman has. My water has gone downhill so bad. You guys have allowed the gentleman across the street from me, Mr. Hunter Tanner Turner, to do whatever he wanted with Hell's Bay Swamp, which has turned it into nothing. My water has just gone kaput. The water behind me on my other piece of property that bumps up to this 300 acres that you want. Anybody that buys any of that land, I feel sorry for them. Because my property over there is just about worthless. There's not a piece of wood in this place that compares to what the water looks like. I could walk you through the house over there and show you what the water looks like that comes out of the well. It would disgust you. You wouldn't even want to take a shower in that water. The water softener people can't put enough filters in to filter the iron and everything that's coming out of the ground now. It is so bad. And since the gentleman across the road has played with the Hell's Bay Swamp, it's gotten worse. The water behind me out of that 300 acres, the water level has gotten actually higher because it's coming up in the backyard of that property that I have. They would like my piece of property right there because that would give him driveways to get right into that 300 acres. It'd be perfect for him. But I'd hate to see anybody get it because that'd be a shame to, it would just be a shame to see anybody buy a nightmare in that property because there's gonna be problems. There's no way in God's green earth, in all honesty, that they could solve the problems that's gonna come in there. I've lived there for 20 years. I've hunted that property, I've hunted a lusty, I've been in water, I've dealt with everything. It's ruined the nature out there. It's no good. It's bad. It's bad news.
Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Rowe? Thank you, Ms. Rowe.
I hate to see it happen. I mean, we don't need the traffic. It's a neighborhood. It's where families had their kids. We've been there a long time. I raised my kids there. Now we got semis going up and down for a business that has no business being there, but apparently money's talking. Everybody needs to check their pockets. Somebody's getting it lined. Water management's not checking out too well. 'Cause I've upgraded mine as much as I can. And I've got a lot of filtering systems just at my house.
Thank you, Ms. Rowe.
You're welcome.
Any other public comments before we open the comments from the board? Any comments from the board?
I have one comment on this guaranteed. Grantee says may contain wetlands. I want to find one piece of property on that, on this development that does not contain a wetland. Why are we using the word may? They are. They all contain wetlands, and that's what it should say, not may. Do you see one on here that does not?
No, I was looking to see if there was even one, but it
There ain't
doesn't,
one.
doesn't look like it. But the applicant's here. I mean, would you have any problem with taking out the word may?
No, I have no problem with
Yeah.
that.
I think we ought to be honest with the people who's buying the property, and when they buy the property, there are wetlands on your property.
Yes, please.
That's fine. Yes, sir.
Sure. We, Pete Scarbo, Arrowwood, we also, this project aside, on any project, we are going to have someone sign an exhibit that specifically says, it's a document and the survey, so it's gonna say wetlands on it. We're gonna make them initial that, so they're gonna see it. We're gonna make them sign another document that already says that. So this is gonna be the third, this is belt, suspenders, and something else. So they're gonna see it 3 times. And we don't sell land to anybody that, it's not sight unseen, over the phone. We make them come out and walk on it. So they're gonna put their feet on it and see where that is. And I don't know if you've been by there lately, but we actually did a little bit of cleanup on some of those tracks. It's almost to the wetland line on some of those lots along that fire department. So it's approximately to that. So just so people can really start to visualize what they have and what they don't have. We did the exhibit so people can see how things fit and everything like that. But happy to remove that word and change the language so that it indicates that it is on each lot, because it is in fact on each lot.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. Yep.
Yeah, I think that would be deceptual. If you do have one lot, then it wouldn't be, but you don't have no lots.
Correct.
So you need to make sure that people know exactly, even though I know you're doing your stages, because that's required for you to do that.
Mhm.
But we need to make sure that we're plain, that when you buy this property, you are buying a piece of property that has a wetland.
Yes.
That just protects them, from building a house in the wetland.
Protects us, protects everybody, protects the
everybody.
county.
Protect
Yeah.
the county.
And
I
obviously.
do appreciate you going back and doing the double driveways, because I was
Sure.
counting all the driveways that it took off of
Quite a few.
the right of way. It was quite a few, and it will help.
With that, so that'll be that, the easements there created, so that all those will be accesses. We have a document that we will most likely record with each deed that has an agreement, so that there's no issue in the future that someone doesn't come and say, oh, the county's gotta take this because it's shared or something like that. It's an agreement that will address how the 2 property owners share in the maintenance cost and upkeep of that. And that's something that will be, typically we record that with each deed so that they know they have to
Sure.
abide by that. Yep. Anything?
Thank you. No, I mean, there's definitely a lot of wetlands, and we knew that at the beginning.
Yeah,
and-
it's Florida.
Right, that's right. And so the double driveways and the language in the deed will definitely help.
Any other comments?
I think people need to be aware too of the water conditions there. We've always had a little problem over in that area with wells. So,
Well, and that's been an industrial area since 1975.
right.
So anybody who moves in there and they won't complain about industry,
It's been there.
it's been there for over 50 years.
But they'll see this on a map, their wetland areas. I mean, we're taking this further than the verbiage, right? Yeah, we're changing the verbiage that it may have wetlands, but we're gonna have people that doesn't even understand what a wetland is. We're gonna
Correct.
have people coming and looking at this land.
Yep.
And so I think it's important that they understand that out of this, making up numbers here, out of this 400-foot stretch of property, I can only use the first 150 foot of it. And I think that we need to be upfront with them about that.
So
Yeah,
we
I
do.
think that's a good example. So even though it's zoned as Ag 7.5, meaning you can only have 1 residence per 7.5 acres, all of these, with the exception of 2, are 10-acre lots or more. One's 27 and one's 30. But even though you're buying 10 acres, you really can only use about 1.
On some,
So-
yeah,
Right.
correct. Yep, so as I mentioned, we will have people initial on the actual plat, and we usually do a color sales exhibit that has those lines specifically on them, and it's labeled clearly wetland with a different shaded color. And they're signing and acknowledging out there on the land, understanding that they can't do anything in a wetland unless they go talk to the state for permits.
Well, some people have a problem with that. They only want an acre to begin with, but they're getting 10 acres. I
Right.
understand, I
Yeah.
understand the sell pitch
And
of
it's
it.
driven by, there's some pricing about it. I mean,
Right.
I'm gonna pay a lot less for a lot that's,
But our concerns is, as far as of me, my concerns have all been met. The homeowners wanna know what they're buying. If they wanna buy it, they ought to have an
Yeah.
opportunity to buy it.
sure.
And the wetland changes, that makes me feel better, because everybody knows there's gonna be wetlands on their property. And then what you're telling me with them seeing, physically seeing the wetlands, that takes care of my other concern. And then the other concern was having so many driveways stacked on each other.
Sure.
And you resolved that also.
Thank you.
So, as far as me, you've met what the board has asked you to do.
Thank you.
And I appreciate that.
Thank you.
As far as the county goes, I mean, for a subdivision, you've required more of this applicant than I've ever seen. So
And-
you've required a lot of information, a lot of disclosures, things to help put somebody who's a potential buyer on notice so that they know what the concerns are.
We just want to protect the people, and I'm sure that you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a little bit of a unique situation because of the amount of wetlands and the locations of those wetlands, but we've done everything we can do to make it work for the developer and for the community.
Understood. Thanks.
Any other comments from the board?
Okay, I have a question that usually I ask this stuff ahead of time. Is there any type of municipal water out there? And the only reason I ask is
No.
because there's RCMH .5 out there. So I mean, that's a small lot.
No.
There's no water in the
Is Glenn?
I mean, they have water at the prison, but
Yeah, not that we could use.
Nothing close. Okay. What's the pleasure of the board?
Like a motion to approve the subdivision for development review.
Second.
Is that all I gotta approve?
We have a motion and a second.
Just for clarification, with the amendment that the word may will be deleted from that proposed language on the PDF version, it's on page
Yes.
137.
With the changes.
You need me to say that, or you good?
I just, as long as you agree with what I just described.
I agree.
the septic also.
I agree.
We have a motion and a second. Is this a read by title thing? Or are we
No,
done
sir.
doing that?
There's no ordinance that goes along with it.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
All right, that's the only public hearing item I have for you guys.
Thank you.
We're back in regular session. CDBG program applicants and contractors, Mr. Noble.
Well, you guys making me
No.
wait today. Good evening. Well, we are finally getting in the groove of getting some homeowners and contractors approved to move forward with this housing grant. If you remember, back over the holidays, November, December, even through January, we had homeowner applications as well as contractor qualification packages that to get inclusion into the program. Whether a homeowner standpoint or a contractor standpoint, we have received all of those. We have ranked them. We have went forward with them, and we'd like to present them to the board for approval. That's the whole reasoning for being here, is to approve the round one of the homeowner list and the contractor list that submitted qualification packages in the program. Now, under and we'll start off with the homeowner that are listed there on your sheet. I'm assuming you have in front of you. We had 19 applicants to submit. All the homeowners that you're seeing now, 1 through 6, they are the top 6 that have qualified out of those 19 applications. And of course, all the homes were ranked according to the housing assistance plan that you guys approved several months back, giving elderly and handicapped individuals precedence over all others. So out of these top 6 that you're seeing are either elderly and handicapped or elderly or handicapped. So the top 6 do fit the requirements, and they are also meet the income requirements as set forth in the CDBG program for inclusion into the program. Before we get going with these guys, I'd like to see if there's, of course, part of the process of the application, we asked if they were kin to any of the commissioners sitting on the board currently with the county. So I'd like for you to look through that list to make sure that you are not kin in any way to them, employee, or anything that you feel would be a conflict before you vote. And if there are none, I'll be happy to answer any questions you guys have before we approve them into this process. And what'll happen at this point, once we approve, we're going through the environmental review record stage, tier 1. We're coming close to the end of that tier 1. We'll start the tier 2 process of the environmental review, which is the site specifics, which these will be the site specifics that we go into our tier 2 environmental review. So if and whenever you guys approve these, we'll start into the tier 2 process as well. And then I'll, of course, go out and I'll walk each house. And of course, if you'll notice next to the names, you'll see NC, NC, RB, NC, RB, NC. That's new construction versus rehab is what those initials stand for. On the initial assessment of their homes, this is what we're thinking that they will be. Of course, we'll go into it further whenever I walk the homes and get a better understanding of where we sit. We're calling this round 1 because we don't know if we're going to go into a round 2 or not. It's going to be based on how the money is and how they bid out, and we'll see how far just down the list we can go. But we're pretty positive that we can at least get these 6 in there, but we won't know until after we bid it out and get the full picture of the money. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you guys have.
With the, Mr. Chairman,
Well, please.
with the contractor list, is this all that applied for, or all that were met?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll get to those after we talk about the homeowner, get them approved. But
Okay,
yes, that is all. Yeah, we're not doing it all together. We're doing the homeowners first.
Gotta do it separate.
We
Right.
approve the contractors listed 1 through 6.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the contractors listed 1 through 6. All in favor
Well,
signify by saying aye.
Homeowners.
You said homeowner, you said contractor, right?
He's sick. He actually said contractors.
That's because he is talking contract.
Tyler's
That's
got
what I'm trying to clarify,
Homeowners,
which one.
okay.
Yeah, we're doing just the
That's the
homeowners.
only one.
Just
through
homeowners
6.
first, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the homeowners 1 through
That's what I
6.
said,
And
but somebody, young punk over there got me.
all in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, like sign.
Next, we have the contractors. Now, of course, the contractors, and if you'll look on page 2, you can see everything that was the contractors were qualified under, and I'll be happy to explain into that if you need explanation on it. But these are all the homeowners that submitted during the requested qualification round for them to submit contract qualifications to be able to bid on the projects. Now, this doesn't preclude any other contractor in bidding. They just have to come here, get an application, fill it out, and get it before the board for approval before we bid out before we bid out the houses. So this is just the list that we have as of now. So if anybody else wants to participate, get word of mouth out, that's perfectly fine. Just as long as they get with myself or Lydia, there with the SHIP program, because she'll be able to hand those out to the contractors that want to also bid on them other than these here. But these are the ones that submitted, the only 6, and I have went through and qualified them per the housing assistance plan as well, and they all do qualify. The only one that I had a little bit of reservation about was number 3, Birdson Services out of Port Charlotte, and my concern, and I did speak with them, and my concern was not being able to do the home, but the 1-year warranty and being able to, them being all the way to Port Charlotte, being able to handle their 1-year warranty if something was to arise. They assured me they had people in the area that could do that, so, on paper, they qualify through the housing assistance plan, so. And I'll be happy to answer any questions about these guys that you guys have.
The qualifications, was that any projects done prior with the CDBG grant or SHIP grants? Was that part of the qualification?
Part of the
Have you ever done SHIP or CDBG grants in the past?
That was a question in the, it wasn't a qualification,
Right.
but there was a question in the application for that, yes.
And all these contractors answered yes to that question?
It was CDBG or FEMA related,
Right.
any type of grant related,
Grant
yes.
related.
And, yeah.
And they all, no issues with
If you look at page 2, there, of course, are other licensed, that extended party list. That means that whether or not they've faltered on using any type of government funds, which none of them have. The insurance was current, credit references, sub-references, supplier work reference, and then, of course, they all gave me a debarment certification as well in their application. Everything, like I said, everything on paper checks out, even their references. Of course, we're all going to give good references, but everything checked out as far as that's concerned, and on paper, I don't have any concerns whatsoever with any of the individuals. I know me personally, I've worked with 2 of these guys, which is Randy Powell Construction and a New Property Investments. I've worked with them in other counties, and they're real good to work with. So I don't have any standing on the other 3, other than what they put on
it. I know
paper.
all of them but the one. I don't know the one.
The Bird, the Brightson or
I've done a
Birdson.
lot of CDBG and SHIP grant in my years, and a lot of them look familiar.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
The Birdson, they were heavy in FEMA stuff.
Okay.
So
But if they met the qualifications, I don't see how we can exclude.
correct.
Any other, I'm sorry.
Any other comments?
Just got from being chairman.
I'll let him run. He knows what he's talking about. I'll let him run with it.
No.
Any other comments?
Make a motion, we set the contractors list as presented.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to accept the contractors list as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, like sign.
That's all I have. There's no further questions
I
for
have
me.
one question, Mr. Chair.
Please.
When are we looking at breaking ground, do you think? I know you can't be pinpoint.
Let's see, we're, like I said, we're finishing up with the tier 1. We're gonna move into the tier 2 environmental review, which is a site specific. We have to contact the Indian tribes and all that stuff for the clearances and go through a lot of sites. So I would say that would probably take, I would say realistically, May
That's what I was thinking.
to break ground. Maximum 6 months. I mean, it depends on how fast the state moves, so it could very well be a, I want to at least get a slab down before hurricane season gets here. So
Okay.
that's kind of what I'm,
That's what I was thinking, 3 to 6 months.
That's good progress.
but yes, sir, about that.
Anything else from the
Yes,
board?
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Next up is Mr. Chris Lee, Award of Design Engineering for County Road 229.
Good evening, good evening. Yes, sir, this is a grant that we got from DOT. Project number 434563-2. And we are seeking approval for a proposal from Pittman Engineering to do all the design work for 229 south from I-10 to the county line. The lump sum fee will be $352,465.
And this is, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, please.
is this is just for the engineering purposes of that? correct?
Just for the design work, yes, sir. Well, they help with all the permitting and everything on top of all that too. And Mr. Pittman is in the audience if there's any questions that need to be directed to him.
The grant covers all of this cost?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Please?
Just for clarification also, Mr. Pittman does have a continuing services contract with the county, and this falls within the guidelines for us to select from those firms, and that's how we came to an agreement with Mr. Pittman. And I know that he is here and would like to share a brief word if you guys would allow him to do so.
Well,
Mr. Pittman, please.
Jimmy Pittman, Pittman Engineering. I was just going to say thank you, but I'll hold that for a little bit. But the DOT, of course, programs all these things based on estimates and so forth that were done a few years ago, like all Scott and Scrap stuff. And this one's a little bit different in that y'all had a 2025 project that said County Road 229 South paved shoulders, which was initiated by the department as part of, I believe, a LAP program. And for whatever reason, that didn't happen. And so I've been talking a little bit with the local programs office about, does this project include a paved shoulder element, and is the funding there to do that? And she says, well, the line item says paved shoulders, but you have to tell me if it's got the money in it. And that's something that I would probably say I'll do as a first order of business, is make sure that the money we've got is going to cover the scope of work that we come up with. And so what I would like to be able to do, pending approval, of course, is that just have a little bit of maybe a monthly or whatever periodic update to the board about what we're doing and the decisions that need to be made in regards to making our scope meet our budget. So that's, and I guess another thing is DOT typically would say a 10% engineering fee as their programming number. This is a good bit lower than that. Because the scope's a little bit unsettled, I don't know if I'm doing paved shoulders or not, and that would make surveying effort a little more, and earthwork, and all these kinds of things get increased if we begin adding width. There was some thought put into it. That's how I came up with my hours and fees and things like that. But
Can you do the original scope and then add paved shoulders so you don't have to double your work?
well, my proposal you would be, let's do a little cost estimate up front, and then let's put some options in the bid.
That's what I'm
And if we can do maybe just paved shoulders in the curves, paved shoulders all the way, we just have an element that keeps bumping us up until we get to the point where the contractor can do what he can do.
That's what I agree.
So that's looking a little bit ahead, but I just wanted to let you know it's likely that if we get into paved shoulders and moving ditches and things like that, that the budget may be a little tight. That's just,
Any other comments, questions for Mr. Pittman?
Make a motion that we award the grant.
Second.
CDBG. Not CDBG, I'm on engineering now. Don't got me stuck CDBG.
Was that a second, Mark?
Yes, sir.
We have a motion and a second to award engineering to Pittman and Associates.
Can we get that done and start paving soon?
Quickly.
Because
All
that
in
road
favor?
needs it.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
I just do want to say thank you very much. I mean, we're very grateful for it. It's an important job for us, and we just like working for y'all. So thank you, each and every one of you.
We appreciate your efforts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dennis, I think you're doing John Blanchard and Dennis Smith.
Yes, sir, double duty. Chairman, commissioners, and new
Come
commissioner,
on.
welcome aboard. Glad to have
Thank
the
you.
opportunity to be in front of you. So we sat through a really long presentation from the Northeast Florida Regional Planning Council, so I'm not going to go down that path. But what I will say is we're before the board for the board to adopt the LMS, which is Local Mitigation Strategy program that we've put together. I'd like to say that I was sitting in the back today. I was just incredibly proud because I'm starting to see so many of the elements coming together. I think Ms. LaDonna's going to be up here in a minute and start talking about it. Farrah wasn't here today, but going all the way back to the green roadways and the that French word he said, I can't remember it. Thank you, charrette. All of these are culminations of some projects that we started a long time ago, and I know some of the county staff was looking at me way back then going, why do you have your fingers in that? But the LMS truly is the backbone of all of that. And we did a really deep dive into, I've got Tyler here with me that can answer any very specific questions. I know you have the plan, the plan in front of you. But that, I don't know if you guys know this, but every single FEMA project that we have, if it's not on the LMS plan, it doesn't get included, right? And so the LMS is really, and we've gone in and done a really deep dive. And hopefully this is, again, the basis for which not just funding opportunity, but programs. The H&H, comprehensive H&H survey that we've now been told by the Corps of Engineers is coming as soon as they can come up with the funding for it. So really the LMS plan is truly the backbone of all of that. And so I think we've done probably the best job that I've ever seen as far as historically in the county of taking a look at that LMS plan and making sure not only is it applicable, but it's up to date and it's accurate. And so many times that we've been in other situations looking for funding, that LMS really, truly does give us the justification and the generation for the opportunity to seek out funds. And with that being said on the LMS, I'm going to ask Tyler if he's got anything he'd like to specifically add about the LMS program.
Through the chair to members of the board and commission, thank you for the opportunity. As Dennis said, the LMS plan is basically your historical record of anything and everything that has affected Baker County, everything from flooding to droughts, as the discussion has taken us today. So with that, it's a historical record. We went through your damage assessments from prior storms. We pulled National Weather Service data, so it's literally as in detailed as possible be. It is a recurring update that occurs every 5 years. There's a state crosswalk that actually comes down from FEMA that it adheres to, and it has received that Florida Division of Emergency Management approval, and now it comes before you, and it will have to go before all your municipalities following your adoption as well. So, but I'm happy to answer any specific questions you may have.
Is 5 years the standard?
Yes, sir. Yes.
5 years seems like a long time for some of these events.
Yes, absolutely. And there are some updates that go with that. There's an annual report that goes out to the state as well that kind of adheres to that. You don't have to wait those 5 years, but to go through the complete adoption process, it's about that 5-year period.
Okay.
I'd like to add, and so to that, so the local mitigation strategy work group, we meet quarterly, and so we are updating and constantly amending. Now, as Tyler said, when you're looking at the entire plan and submitting it, break it down, sending it to the state for the approvals. But this plan, literally, the assistant chief and the chief of the fire department are constantly adding things to that local mitigation. So quarterly, it's updated and then prioritized. So it's literally a living, breathing document that survives. We don't have to wait 5 years to make changes or adjustments.
Would the board need some periodical review of that, or is that the 5-year deal?
So the board's welcome, and they're actually, we're subject to, so we do a public meeting, so we do the announcement there. I know Sarah is quite frequently not only a member, she's on the board, but we typically hold those at the EOC. But again, every quarter we have those folks in there. And one of the things that Tyler referenced that is very specific is we've got some really good numbers. And going back to the earlier statement about the having that real numbers of data to tell what the experience in Baker County is, having the numbers from Hurricane Debbie and Hurricane Helene in the 2024 season is going to be a significant help to the county in seeking out funding. Did I answer your question?
Kinda. How often does this resolution need to be?
Every 5 years.
Okay.
So this is a 2026 one then, correct?
Correct.
Through 2026?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it's this year going into the next 5 years.
Yeah.
And then.
Gotcha.
31. That's just quick
Okay,
math. I
okay.
don't know if I'm any good.
I can go ahead and give a little bit more details of that. So what will happen is when you reach that 4-year mark, the Florida Division of Emergency Management will send the county a letter saying you're within your 1-year review period. You are required to get them a review 6 months out of that. And then we work through the process of going through revisions if they have them. One of the big revisions this year is they wanted for every storm to talk about how new development or development in general will affect each one of the storm categories. I say storm categories, but hazard categories, as well as what effects climate change will have on those categories as well. So what does it have for flooding? What does it have for tornadoes, thunderstorms, all of those kind of details. So those were the big two things that were kind of not new, but were definitely looked at in a more stringent eye this year around.
And for all those new commissioners, regional council, if we didn't have them doing this, we would have a full-time, not one staff member, but several staff members trying to do what they do for us.
Yep.
And the fees that we pay to the regional council. This is just one of the small things that they do for not only our county, but a lot of the other small counties in our region. So kudos to the regional council. I mean, without them, small counties we would be lost.
Just this year, I'd say it's more than 8 or 9 different projects they've been working on for us.
They work on everything.
They're absolutely an invaluable resource.
Pleasure to agree.
Make a motion to read resolution 2026-03 by title.
Mr. Chairman, I have one question real quick.
Go ahead and second it, then you can.
ask.
I already made a motion, so you got to second it, then you can discuss it.
All right, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a
Now
second.
you can.
All
Commissioner Mott?
right. I'm going to ask a project-specific question on here. The 6921 Miltondale Road flooding and eroding into the creek, that's part of this plan. What's the status of it on the culvert?
Miltondale,
Miltondale Road.
the culvert on Miltondale,
So we've done 3 of the replacements. You guys have to go back and finish out with them. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, yeah.
Replace 4.
Replace the 4 culverts, we've still got to add the mitered ends. Because we weren't expecting the mitered ends, we didn't put, the pipes were cut, so we got to get a special coupling. It has to be ordered. And then we're still going to raise the berms, but trying to hold off until it starts getting rain. All we'll be having is dead grass. So.
Okay. Is there another culvert that needs to be ran on that?
They're asking for another culvert to be ran down the side. That's a whole nother ballgame there.
Okay. All right.
Any more comments?
When will the miters and all be done?
I don't know. They haven't gave me a delivery time for the coupling yet.
Okay. Thank you.
Any more comments from the board?
Mr.
We
Chair,
have a
want me to read-
motion and a second.
Want me to read by title?
Yes.
Resolution 2026-3, a resolution of Baker County, Florida, adopting the local mitigation strategy.
We have a motion and a second for 2026-03 resolution. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Mr. Smith?
Yes, sir. Back in front of you again, and I'm passing out just a guide so that it's a little easier to follow the conversation.
Yeah, thank you.
Give you mine when I'm done.
Oh, yeah, we're good.
So I'd like to start off with exactly what the agenda has. So I'd like to start off with a conversation about the notice to proceed. Let me start with some background information in the way FEMA, and for that matter, the state, views disaster experiences. The state and FEMA basically look at things that if your county sustains damage from a hurricane, that the county is going to repair that damage. And then through the process of FEMA reimbursement, then there is, after jumping through all the hoops we're familiar with, there is a reimbursement on the backside. And so the way we currently have processed this, Sarah could have issued a notice to proceed on these projects. Sarah and I talked quite a bit, and our contractors agreed with this, that we really wanted to come back before the board and make sure that the board understood the process of this notice to proceed. And so, again, looking at it from the FEMA and the FDM side of things, when we signed the contract, we put out the RFP and we awarded a contract. That's the point that the that the state and the feds are kind of expecting, okay, you're moving forward on these projects. And I've tried to be very clear that again, FEMA is a reimbursement. And so we talked at the very last meeting, I think, about that obligation versus notice to proceed. The obligation is not a step in the FEMA's process for doing the repairs. At the county level, and the way the contractor designed, we've got the contractor on board, and when the county has decided, okay, go ahead and go forward and do that work. So that's kind of where we are, and for a couple of different reasons. We've got a couple of contractors that have been doing work, and I just don't think they recognize that notice to proceed had not been issued yet. And so they've got about $43,000 worth of engineer and design work done thus far, and they're looking at having to order some precast parts or equipment for what they're doing. And so they contacted us and said, hey, can we go ahead and do this? And so once again, I wanted to come back before the board to make sure that the board understood that at the point that that notice to proceed moves forward, the county's on the hook for the contract. And so what we have been doing, and one of the reasons why I have these numbers in front of you, and we can kind of address it kind of one by one if you'd like. We issued the award, we signed the contract and now we've held them up. And one of the things that our contractors have been doing, because there has been this pressure to get some of these projects done, expeditiously. The other thing is, we talked about the board many months ago about that permitting process that becomes a bottleneck in the process. And so what the two things we were hoping to accomplish by being forward-thinking and proactive with the contractors was to make sure that we didn't end up with a very elongated permitting and process, to the point where you end up by the time you're actually doing the work, the numbers have all changed. And I think it was kind of evident, sort of like with the previous boat ramp project, the way that thing ended up. And so the plan was to basically put as many resources in place, the federal folks, the FEMA folks, the United Federal Review, all of our partners, to try to come together to try to make sure that this thing moved efficiently and didn't have unnecessary delays. Well, we're at that point now where the contractors are wanting to move forward. We have at least one of the contractors has expressed, you're looking for me to do an engineering report on this, and this is for Shoals Park. I'm not going to bring the engineer on board until I've got the contract moving forward and I can pay him. And so that's kind of where we are. So with that being said, what I'd like to explain to you guys, the contracts, as far as what the awarded contracts was, we have those numbers. What I'd like to do is kind of express what those numbers mean in the FEMA process by moving forward prior to an obligation. And so I'm going to start with a boat ramp and use that as an example. So the boat ramp dollar figure that they came up with was $252,000. That was for just the base, what we'll call the base cost. They take some of the extras out. It's a kind of a wash thing. They don't count your soft cost. They don't count your engineering, your mobilization. They just kind of break it down to the basic cost. And then from there is applied a percentage ratio for mitigation. And so when it was all said and done, the boat ramp is ultimately the signed contract for somewhere around $548,000. I'm just roughing the numbers here. But the FEMA number was 252. So that 252 would be in this column where it says best available cost. That would be where that number is. And so if you looked at the boat ramp, it looked like we were only going to get $252,000 worth of reimbursement from FEMA, when actually we got the full amount of the contract. So what I'm going to say next, I'm applying that reasonableness, that methodology to what we're going to talk about next. And so the next project where we're up against that is Turner Cemetery Bridge. And so right now, those numbers, and you can look right there where recreation and other items, that Shoals Beach. The
Fourth line.
Fourth line, thank you. That $827,000 is what the contract is for. Right now, FEMA's fix-it number is somewhere around $224,000. And from a 30,000-foot view, you're like, oh, we're on the hook for $600,000. But we've got that same application to consider of the mitigation. And so with Turner Cemetery Bridge, there's 2 points here. The first is, does the county intend to install concrete box culverts in place of that wooden bridge? That's the first question that we're looking for guidance from the board. And the second part of that is, in the event that we don't make any more progress with FEMA in getting those numbers up, the board would recognize that the board then would be, per the contract, and there may be, and I'm not rich, right, so there may be some wiggle room here, but generally speaking, the county would be expected to pay the full contract price. I can say this, the numbers right now, and this is what emergency management has been doing for the last 2 years. We have been fighting to get those numbers, just like the boat ramp, to where we can cover the costs, right? We never were asking for anything more. We're just basically looking to say, hey, we're looking to get back what it's gonna cost us to repair these and repair them the smart way, right? Which is spend good money and don't put something back that's gonna get destroyed 6 weeks from now. I can't make any claims of what FEMA is going to do in the end. I can only say what we're going to do as far as a process, which is continue to do the same thing with every one of these projects that we did with the boat ramp. Turner Cemetery Bridge, right now, that number of $224,000, and this is a FEMA thing, and I really don't want to go down this path, but they're actually calculating that off of the earliest estimate that we sent them when we first started this. And that was with the county doing the work. And literally that $224,000 that they've got in that column now is considering not a contractor doing the work, it's considering the county doing that work and then renting equipment and operators. We have recently submitted the updated contract that shows that it's not that. We're actually hiring a contractor. The contractor has submitted what their price is. And so our reasonable expectation for where I'm standing is that they're gonna go back and revisit that $224,000. It's gonna align something much closer to what the awarded contract price was going to be. And then if there was mitigation, that would absolutely, and to be honest with you, the Turner Cemetery Bridge is one of those ones where the gap between what it would cost to put it back as a wooden bridge and the cost to put concrete box culverts in was very close. It was within, and it's not my money, so I can say it was close within $100,000. Additionally, that contract for the, once the numbers are accepted and processed by FEMA for that contract, we're actually anticipating this to be a no-brainer. This literally, on paper, for the cost to repair it versus the mitigation percentage, was the best project we had. Unfortunately, it's been the most difficult. Where we are in that process right now is we have challenged, and this has been put on hold until we get a notice to proceed, but we have asked the contractor to recost again, even though we've already submitted 4 different engineers that have done this, resubmit an assigned engineering statement saying this is how much to put a wooden bridge back. And so that's the first element, to get that $224,000 up. And then the second part of that is to have them then tell FEMA, and these are the codes and standards for bridges that wooden bridge will not meet. I don't know which one of those is gonna happen first, the chicken or the egg. It's almost kind of they come out of the same product. We're being advised by our consultants that the numbers that will come out on the wooden bridge are going to be really beneficial, to be great, but once it comes out that whatever amount that dollar amount is, and we put the bridge back in the wooden condition that it was, that it won't meet current codes and standards, FEMA then will be forced to say, okay, we can't do that, we got to put, right, because the wooden bridge doesn't meet today's bridge standards. So that's where we are with that project. I can tell you that our contractor, Thomas Allen Ferguson, hasn't had the same level of I don't know, expectation that I have over the last year and a half working on these projects. And he was a little bit concerned. He's like, I don't know if those numbers are going to work out. I had a conversation with him on Monday, and he said, I'm feeling a lot better about those numbers now. And we really do. The expectation and the battle that we're going to fight from EM with our county partners, this is not a one person, right? This is a team. But our 100% goal is going to be to keep fighting until those numbers are close enough, and we do just like we did with the boat ramp. They go, okay, yeah, we're good, we go. However, if for some reason something takes a left-hand turn, I may want to make sure that the board understands that with that notice to proceed and they start the work, we could be on the hook for the full amount. So that being said, I want to move, and I'll take questions. We can take them individually if you like, or we can do them at the end. The next project is going to be,
Before you do that, Dennis, do you want to talk about the two notice to proceeds instead of just one on that project? Explain why we have both of them on the agenda?
so one of the things we talked about as options, and it wasn't in the way our contract was originally designed. In other words, the contract we have was the contract, and we've learned a lot dealing with FEMA about things that should be in there and addendums and that kind of thing. One of the things that we propose and the contractor is willing to do is do a provisional notice to proceed, which says, hey, you can go ahead and move forward on engineering and design and order the precast box culvert portions, right? But don't start any construction, don't break any ground until you get the second of the two provisional. And the contractor, the Gulf Coast is the contractor for Turner Cemetery, was agreeable to that. But what they basically said is, we want to stop here now because we've already got 40 grand worth of engineering stuff that we've done on the backside, and we don't want to move forward until we get a clear direction from the board, from the county, on whether or not we want to move forward. And I suggested to Sarah that maybe something we take a look at for sure in future contracts where we incorporate this in there because, and granted, I hope we never get hit like we did during Hurricane Debbie ever again. But should we, I think we may be able to position ourselves a little bit better because here's the truth. I mean, we're a fiscally constrained rural county. We don't have a lot of money. But the expectation is you had a damaged facility, infrastructure, whatever it was, and the state and the feds, in the meantime of giving you a decision for whether or not they'll reimburse you, are expecting you to go ahead and move forward and repair and fix those projects. Now, the mitigation side of it's a little bit different. On the mitigation of improving it, that there is no expectation on their part that you will, although they highly suggest that you consider mitigation. But what the expectation is from the state and from the feds is that you're going to repair the damage that you suffered from the storm. So that being said, if it's something to consider moving forward, that we structure our contracts and potentially even our RFPs in such a way where it gives the county as much time as possible to make an educated decision on whether or not the reimbursement looks good versus saying, okay, let's just take a bunch of bales of hay and put across there. I don't know if I'm being facetious there, but it gives it gives you that wiggle room, and I do think that's something that the county should consider for the next round of contracts for sure, and maybe even some of these contracts here, because if we're in that boat with one contractor, there's a good possibility we may be in the same boat, and just go ahead and have some conversations and say, hey, are you willing? Would you be open to that kind of thing? But the ultimate decision for this board is, are we ready to issue the notice to proceed on these projects, recognizing that if we're unsuccessful in getting numbers improved, anything over where we are now, that the county is basically there. And so the next project is Shoals Park.
Before we move into that,
Let's
Dennis.
stick with one thing at a
I'll say,
time.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Dennis. You summarized that very well. And what Dennis is saying is actually, we really need 3 answers from you guys. Head nods that we're still moving forward with the box culvert. I believe the consensus was that was the best plan for that,
See,
and that no
where you can
one
go.
disagrees with that. And number 2, like Dennis summarized really well for you all, is that we were uncomfortable issuing the notice to proceed because that FEMA number wasn't where we expect it to be. Like Dennis said, we're going to keep working it. We're not going to accept the number at where it's at now. But if I sign that notice to proceed, we want to make sure that you all understand that there is the potential liability that FEMA number, that number may not come up to meet ours, and we may have some local match dollars to come up with. We don't believe that that's going to happen. We believe that it'll come up, but that's where we're at.
Where's the point of no return?
There is a termination clause in our contract. We talked about this at length with our contractor, Thomas Howell Ferguson, about that very same thing. So there was, I don't have my notes in front of me, I apologize on this one, but Rich, our standard termination clause, without reason, basically, that we, at any point in time, we reserve the right to
30 days written notice or something
30 days
along those
written notice to rescind the contract. So even though we do a notice to proceed on the design, engineering, and purchase of that material, we may not choose to proceed with the construction, and we should have more information at that point. But right now at this process, we can't move forward with our FEMA process until we issue this notice to proceed, and we can't issue the notice to proceed because there's questions about FEMA. So again, we're stuck in this circle of questions that really can't be answered. But I said, I was uncomfortable, Dennis was uncomfortable, the whole team was, signing that notice to proceed without formally having this conversation, and let's talk out any questions that we may have.
Commissioner Anderson?
I have a ton of questions, but we ain't got that much time. What projects, I'm trying to make this simplified for me. I'm a simple person. Are we fully funded now?
So I'm glad you brought that
All
up.
I'm hearing is the boat ramp.
Yes, sir, sorta. So I'm gonna basically share with you some numbers that I wasn't prepared to deliver today, but here's what I'll say. To date, we have obligated $540,216 to the county. That's through none of these projects that I've been up here talking about for months. It's the Cat B work and the Cat C work that the road department did. I think I came in before the board the last time and talked about that. So the county has gotten $540,000. The boat ramp is a done deal. That number then is gonna be $1.5 million that the county is receiving.
Well, I understand that where you're going with it, and I appreciate you. I'm not trying to cut you short. What's important to me is what is actually funded of these projects we have here. I know that you've been, you're working harder than anybody I ever noticed, so I'm not knocking that. And I appreciate you going after that $500 and something thousand. I was gonna come back to that in a minute. But what is fully funded that we have right now?
The boat ramp.
The only project we have on here,
Yes,
and
sir.
we've already issued a notice to proceed on that.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
The projects that you have before us tonight for notice to proceed, we don't have fully funded.
No, sir.
No. Which,
And what is the cost of those?
So
That's not funded.
so we'll start with the,
Well, let's talk about Turner Cemetery.
Cemetery
So
Bridge.
the cost is $827,000.
Right.
Right now, in their system, it's 200, what was the number you gave us? Dennis?
224 plus or minus, and again, these are very flexible numbers.
Right.
So
Those,
right now, that's the only
to be
numbers
honest
that
with
are
you, I expect
I know you-
$224,000 plus the mitigation, whatever that mitigation may be, using the same ratio. I would say that my target, if they didn't improve anything else, I would say that we would be on the hook for somewhere around $400,000 for the, and again, those are not
Well,
numbers that you put a gun to my head. Those are,
could we not say 603 right now and say that no mitigation is gonna happen? Worst case scenario? Is that correct?
Yes.
I
And with the
think you
numbers
have
where
to
they
say
are right
that.
now.
Yeah, I mean, let's,
I mean, we
let's,
know
let's,
that-
let's,
Don't know.
We know that's not
No.
gonna happen, but yes, I mean, because we can't rebuild it the way that it is currently because it doesn't meet standards. So that number is as a wooden bridge, and we know that they're not going to allow us to rebuild it as a wooden bridge because that won't pass inspection.
they'll allow us to, they just won't pay us for it.
No, DOT won't allow us to.
DOT won't
No,
allow
DOT
us.
well, you
will
won't
not
use
pass
FEMA
inspection.
funds.
Right, we
Well, the
couldn't
one
use
guy
FEMA funds, we could-
came, I can't remember his name, the very first one you got, we've had so many come and go.
Probably John Beal, real tall guy.
He was stating that was one of our options.
Right, but that was
Before he got with the.
That-
before we
that
got
was
with
before-
DOT, and that would not meet current specs.
Yeah, that's not gonna pass inspection.
This is where we are. Turner Cemetery Road is shut out.
Yes.
The bridge is out.
Yes.
It's it's on the same line with me as the problem we got out there on Flower Street. That's gotta be fixed. It's gonna come to a point one day where it's just gonna be impassable. So that's two projects we know we gotta fix. So, and I'm going back to what Dennis was saying about the extra funds that it's not extra funds, it's funds we've spent, we're just getting back. I'm gonna be going ahead and signing the notice of proceed on the Turner Cemetery Bridge. We got buses that can't go down that road. Emergency people can't go, and more important, our constituents can't even use that road because it's shut down. So I'm gonna be in favor of moving forward on the notice of proceed, but the other projects, I think we need to talk about.
So with that, if we're talking that right there, so worst case, you're about 400, is what you're saying. With the mitigation.
Worst case
with
is
the
224.
Which would
Yeah,
be.
worst case is that it doesn't increase
That's all
another
they give
dollar
us.
today.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
so
Right, but that would put us on the hook for about 603.
there you go.
Correct. Correct?
And I'm trusting your math, yes, sir.
827 minus the 224, 603
But we
roundabout.
got 500 coming back, the money we've already spent. It's coming back into the coffers.
That's all true, but I really would like to
Right.
answer a question here for all purposes and clarity. That 224 number counts no mitigation.
Right.
Right.
I believe there's mitigation coming.
That's right.
And the problem with the 224 and giving you the real number is if they actually take the numbers from our contractors and stop making up their own numbers, that number for replacing the bridge is almost $500,000.
Correct.
And then the mitigation then becomes more than enough to meet. So I'm just very cautious about saying,
Yeah.
when we talk about the 224 number, your worst case scenario is subtract your contracted price minus that 224. That's what you could potentially be on the hook for. I don't believe, if I believed that was going to be the case, I wouldn't have the intestinal fortitude to stand before you.
But we're, as a board, willing to take on the risk of the 603 right now because we think that it will be much, much, much less.
I don't really think we're taking on a risk. We're fixing a road that needs to be fixed. There's no risk here. This is a road that in our county, as commissioners, which we're supposed to do, is take care of the roads the best we can. We got a road to shut out. We got to fix the road. It's not like we have an option whether FEMA's going to pay or not going to pay. Our job as commissioners is to fix the road. And the EM has went through the process. They went through everything they can with FEMA. And I think if we go ahead and move forward on the project and not let the project sit, it's going to speak volumes to FEMA that we want this road fixed. We need this road fixed. And the question is here, do we think that the public safety, and I think we all do, I'm not going to go there because we all think public safety is important. But if somebody needs to get down that road now, they can't. Our job is to get the road going. And I think we're in a position now, from what I'm listening, I think that we get the 200-something thousand for the old bridge, which we know that we can't rebuild. And then you're gonna get the mitigation. The mitigation to bring it up to what we're trying to do now is gonna pay that amount. But the question we have is, do we wanna go ahead and step out on and get this thing fixed?
Correct.
On good faith.
What I'm saying is, we don't have an option.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with fixing the road. I'm just saying right now it's going to cost us 600. Worst case.
Potentially, yes.
Yes.
Correct.
So I mean, if we're acknowledging that it could cost us 600 to move forward at this point.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's worst case scenario. I'm definitely not disagreeing with
No, yeah.
doing the road, and the road needs to be done. It needs to be opened up for everybody. It's just worst case scenario. It's going to cost us 600. Are we okay with that right
And I
now?
don't think I don't really,
Right.
honestly don't think it is gonna cost us.
I don't
think
either.
it'll
But
cost
we
us
got to be
anything.
able to acknowledge that at this
I
point.
I like
to
the way
move
you
forward.
think,
But
Commissioner.
I think, without a doubt, that this bridge has been sitting closed for 2 years. It's got to get open.
Oh yeah.
And I think that we're at a stage now, we've got the notice to proceed. I think that from what I'm hearing from the professionals here is it's going to move forward. But if we sit around here and wait on FEMA for the next 10 years to do something,
We're gonna be on.
we've got to have a bridge. I mean,
And I'll say one
It's a
more.
county road. It's not a state road, it's a county road.
I'll add one more thing to it, and Chris can back me up on this. The bridge is deteriorating as it sits,
That's right.
whether or not we're using it or not. So it went from a, whatever it was, to a critical, that cost is just increasing on what it's gonna cost to put the wooden bridge back one way or the other. But you have accurately, I started, and thank you very much for your trust, because that's the way that I hope to apply this entire
I
process.
agree with what he's saying. We're on the hook for 600 if they don't pay you anything. I don't think that's gonna happen. I think that from what we've seen but we gotta get this thing. The contractor's on the hook. I don't want the contractor on the hook, and I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen. If we're gonna keep beating around the bush and waiting, and what's gonna happen, we're gonna get in storm season again.
Then you
And we're gonna
can't
start
fix it.
having a lot, I'm hoping, I'm just thinking worst case. These contractors that we got on the board right now to do these projects might not be around.
Yeah, agree.
So we need to move forward with these projects.
Just,
The costs keep going up.
the first thing was, do we do box culverts?
Yes.
There's no other
We
option.
don't have an
Right.
option.
There's not really anything else. So box culverts is what we've got to do eventually.
Yep.
So that's kind of out of the way. The phase one, moving forward, getting the parts, getting everything moving. If we do one, we may as well do both. we may as well commit to the project, in my mind. So everybody else may feel differently, but that's how I see it. We've got a proven record of working with FEMA. It's been trying, but had some success. I expect us to continue to have success. I think we need to move forward. Any other comments?
I'm sorry, just for point of clarification, if the direction is to move forward with both, notice to proceeds, we can actually revise that to just one notice to proceed from our perspective. We only broke it out with the anticipation that we might have some hesitation when it came to construction. But if you all tonight are directing us to move forward with the project as a whole, I can redo that, Dennis, into the normal, just one notice to proceed so that there's not any confusion.
I don't see where we have an option. While we're gonna buy the material, get the engineer, and then sit and wait.
Right.
Yeah, I don't see it being separate.
We've been waiting 2 years.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna hold volumes with FEMA when our man can go back and tell FEMA, they're moving forward.
Mhm.
They're building a bridge. Can y'all help us? I tell you, I deal with the state a lot, and when you got some skin in the game, it means a whole lot.
Mhm.
And you just sitting there waiting.
So, Mr. Commando, I was following your lead as far as the steps, so we're,
Right, you probably should have a motion to authorize proceeding with the notice to proceed.
Can I ask
Notices
something?
to proceed.
I want to ask something. I want to apologize if this is something that's already been discussed and decided. But so you're telling me we started out with our own department doing it for $224,000. Now we went out to a contractor. We have a price of $827,000.
Mhm.
Yep. Okay. So that's where we're at. So my question is, and I'm sure there's a great answer for this, but why did we move away from our people doing it?
That would be to do a wooden bridge.
Repair the
So-
wood.
To repair the wooden
That's what
bridge.
repair.
The 827 is box culverts with a contractor.
So our people aren't capable.
No.
Okay. I didn't mean to say it like
so
not capable.
it's okay, because, so to share with you the full picture, when you get past a certain amount of damage, you're not really repairing the bridge, you're rebuilding the bridge.
That's right.
And we're not bridge builders in Baker
No,
County.
and I don't support the
And
wood
so
bridge
that's-
anyway, so I didn't realize that.
That was
My
where we
question was-
decided then to go to the contractor and put it out for contract instead of the county folks doing it.
Because I just seen us trying to move FEMA to our number. My thoughts were, what can we do to move towards FEMA's number to also help mitigate that, that risk?
Good point. That was
and
really
they-
early on also, before all of those inspections and engineers have come out and looked at it.
Okay.
So that was really not having enough information to know that that was beyond our scope to be able to do that in-house as well.
And one more piece, and again, I appreciate you asking the question. One more piece is, we've had 4 engineers tell us that it's gonna cost us somewhere between $500,000 and $600,000 to rebuild that bridge. It's just FEMA's the one that's coming up with 220 or 170, whatever the number is.
Well, that's not even a comparable number because that's for a wooden bridge.
Correct.
Now we're talking about box
Correct.
culverts. So now I'm hearing you say that you have the prices for the box culverts and you've represented those to FEMA now.
That's correct.
Okay.
The whole problem was they never took our real numbers for, it's most critical, you have to determine what it costs to repair it. From there, you do mitigation. We could never they were less than half of what they said it was gonna cost to replace than what our 4 engineers said it was gonna cost us to rebuild that bridge.
Okay.
And that was the whole problem all along.
Commissioner Iverson, I'm gonna give you some great advice.
Yes, sir.
Sit down with this man, sit down in a meeting with him and let him bring you up to speed on all, because this is some confusing stuff.
Sure.
And if you'll sit down with him and Mr. Blanchard, they'll bring you up to speed.
Then we don't
And
have
I'm
to be
still-
brought up to speed in the
Right,
meeting.
I'm just saying, I'm still confused half the time myself, so.
Okay.
And I've been here through the whole process, but it would be great information for you just to sit down with them and let them bring you up to
Well,
speed.
because we've got 18 months or more of history on these projects, so
Okay.
it's a lot to take in, for
It's
sure.
Sounds
Yeah.
good.
Real good for you.
But it's always
Nothing
good to
makes
ask
sense with
before
FEMA.
you vote.
Any other comments? What's the pleasure of the board?
I make a move when we move forward with a notice of proceed on the
Second.
total project.
Is that a second?
Y'all
On
didn't say-
Turner Cemetery
On
Bridge.
Turner Cemetery Bridge.
That's
there you
what
go.
we was talking about.
We have a motion to do a notice to proceed on Turner Cemetery Bridge. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, like sign. that's done.
So the next project on our list is Shoals Park. They're showing the numbers at 170. That again was with the county doing the work. FEMA's just looking at the wrong documents for all this time. This project was a lot slower because we didn't get the RFP out, all the delays. We have just submitted the actual contract cost. Tim Prep was the winning contractor. To be honest with you, this one here should come up to something real close to what in fact, might even be a little bit more because FEMA's offered up some additional green options like they talked about. So my anticipation, we're on the hook right now if we sign the notice to proceed for 400, help me Sarah, on Tim Prep's contract price.
Was it 432?
It was $31,000 worth of
Uh-huh.
mitigation.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say 460 for the board's benefit. 460 something thousand dollars. Right now, they've only got 170, so we'd be on the hook for somewhere around 250, 300,000. Again, I don't expect that number 170 to stay anywhere near that. And it's a lot less of the total cost of that project. It's half of what Turner Cemetery costs us. But we just submitted that information, and this is the contractor. They're asking for one more piece of information that this contractor said I need to pay my engineer when I bring him on board.
And this is Shoals Park.
Yes, sir.
I have a different feeling about this one.
They need one more piece of information, being what?
They've asked to come in and give a it's for mitigation.
Okay.
They've asked to give a very specific length, width, depth, and GPS location for riprap that's going to be applied on the access, so that little loop there at the beach. That's initially the proposal was to put riprap on the beach. Tim Prep came in and said it makes no sense. The beach is stabilized. We don't think anything we put there will stay there, but we do think you should put some riprap here to stop all that sand from going down the road, which is one of the things they struggle to recover. So they've just asked us for the very specific dimensions of what that is. The contract owner, the company owner, basically said, hey, I need my engineer to get involved in that. He can put you together a little engineer's drawing and submit that to him. But that's the only thing at this juncture we're waiting on is that. And he said, I don't want to, he's going to want to get paid when I ask him to do this, and I need to be able to pay him.
Is that doing any of the road work near that beach where it comes around there?
So that's the second part that I mentioned a minute ago, that there may be actually some additional mitigation that FEMA's proposing. So the contractor went back out there after the first go around and went out and said, hey, here's what I recommend. I recommend you do this. He's actually going to replace a culvert that wasn't on our original damage estimates. And he said, I already incorporated it into our cost, so there's no increased cost. But one of the things he talked about was engineering the ditches and the flow of the water. He called it engineered forest roads or some very specific term or code. But he said, basically, instead of trying to keep all that water in the ditch for all that way, we're going to take it to naturally low spots, make low water crossings, and then open the ditches up so it drains out to naturally lower areas on the outside and stops eroding the ditches away, which is a fantastic idea. So that's one of the things where there may actually be more mitigation opportunity and money than what we asked for from the very beginning, because mitigation, we talked to him on the phone, said, hey, that's a really good idea and we would support that. So yes and no. Sorry, I'm trying to be as clear as I can without overpromising.
Is this a phase 1 and 2 project or one?
Just one project.
I'm gonna recommend a phase 2 project on this one because I don't wanna put the county on the hook for $460,000 if we only get half of it.
Okay.
And this is a different type of project. This is not a road, this is not, I'm not saying it does need to be done, every bit of it, and I agree. But I think we need to get more promised amount on how much money we're gonna be receiving on this project. But I do wanna keep the project moving, which if we do a phase 1 and a phase 2 process, it still can move.
So you say the two-step notice to proceed, one for engineering design and then
Right.
one for.
Yeah.
And just to be clear for the board, this is 1 mile of roadway, and it's from the gate at Cruz Road, 1 mile in, and that is our emergency access. That's the only road we're working on in there for the FEMA project, is that one to get our fire trucks and our ambulances and our police cars in and out.
We could do a 2-phase project on this one, and it would keep the project moving, but it would commit the county to the whole project until we receive obligated amount of money we're gonna get.
We'll set up a meeting with Mike,
do
and
that.
then, yep, and I think it'll be amenable.
That would be fine.
So the next project, we,
Any other comments from the board before we move on?
Let's have a motion on that.
I make a motion that we do a two-phase project with the Shoals Park. First phase, notice to proceed, I agree with moving forward with.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to proceed with the two-phase project for Shoals Park. Notice to proceed. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Now we're going to talk about Steel Bridge Road. And I'm going to be honest with the board. This was a close your eyes, swing for the fences, Hail Mary project for us from the very beginning. Wasn't one that I was willing to hang my hat on. Oddly enough, this one here, our contractors think we're actually golden on. And it's an insanely expensive. And I'm going to say that I recommend that at a minimum you take a look at the two-step notice to proceed on this project, only because it's $1.798 million. That's a big chunk of money.
You're not looking for that tonight though, right, Dennis? I mean, we're not there on notice to proceed on this one yet.
So now I'm gonna punt to Chris, because Chris has had more frequent conversations with J.B. Coxwell than, or more recent conversations with J.B. Coxwell. I know that they were pushing. Are they pushing hard, or can we pause off and
Well,
delay?
right now, I've just asked them to give me a quick sketch of, we gotta get, we're working on their price. So I've asked them for a sketch of where they're gonna put the temporary road at, cause I gotta get, approval from the landowners for that. And then we also need approval or I gotta get some, utility easement for the electric to be moved midway between them buildings, cause they gotta come in and build the road, and then the electric's gotta get moved. So I'm working with them to get some sketches, so I can get with the landowners and Okey-Pinokie and all that.
So it sounds like we can hold off on that decision-making, at least for another meeting. I want to be 100% transparent here in the process. So this one, when we first talked about this project with Commissioner Bennett, there was 3 things in that RFP that he said, we're absolutely not doing that, we're absolutely not doing that, we're absolutely not doing that. J.B. Coxwell has recognized that they gave us a lot of options in that RFP. And what I've asked Chris to do is kind of start having a talk and start narrowing it down, because I said from the very beginning, hey, if we did everything on there, it was going to be that number. But if we whittle some things down, that number can come down. So Chris is working forward on that. I'm also going to say that this is one of those situations where I don't have the technical expertise that Mr. Bennett had when he said, no, we won't do that. No, we're not going to do that. No, he was very definitive, very quick. He didn't have to think about it. And so one of the things that I want to make sure that the board understands is I'd like to make sure the board 100% understands exactly what this scope of work is going to look like and exactly what it's going to cost. And I think that's going to be a staged process from the conversations Chris is having now. And then once they come back to us with something, I think we should come back before the board and give you a much clearer picture of what that project actually looks like, and most importantly, what that project is going to cost in its finality on the scope of work. Would you agree, Chris?
I would agree.
Me too.
So, I don't have any more projects to talk about as far as the notice to proceed. And with that, I know that I took a significant number of questions last week after the commission meeting. So one of the things I'd like to do, and I had a conversation with Commissioner Mobley and Commissioner Mann, and I know their phones have been ringing off the hooks and calls about the boat ramp. So what I wanted to try to do, and Commissioner Mann asked me to put it on the record so that the citizens can hear a bit about the process. And so the process I mentioned earlier, that FEMA and the state basically say you've got damage, the expectation is you're going to fix it. The process also is you don't wait on FEMA's money to decide whether or not you're going to fix it. You're making those decisions on your own. And I brought before the board, I was really happy last week because I said the check's in the mail, and that really is, for layman's terms, exactly where we are. They have said, okay, you've won the award, but we don't have the money yet. And I don't know how long it's going to take, because there are significant delays at Homeland Security, and everything over $100,000 has to be signed by one individual at the very top. Every single disbursement over $100,000.
And I'm a little worried with that right now, because we don't know what's going to happen with Homeland Security in D.C.
True. I will say that there's $70 billion that's already identified for it, and I don't know whether or not where we fall in that line for that 70. My concern would be not so much that the check's not coming, it'd be more so how long is it going to take us to get it. And so I know that there's been significant concern for the population. Let's just get that thing open. Let's just do this. And what the public really needs to understand, and I hope the board does as well, is that FEMA is very specific on their paperwork and their project requirements and their monitoring. And FEMA's position is if you just go in there and open that boat ramp, as far as FEMA's concerned, you didn't need that boat ramp replaced in the first place. And now you have fraudulently applied for reimbursement funds for something you said was destroyed. And the truth is, when it comes to the safety side of things, that boat ramp by multiple engineers have said, no, you can't make it safe. And so I just wanted to, and let me know if there's any additional questions that I can help for you or your constituency to clarify these positions that the county would love to just go in there tomorrow, move some stuff around and say, open it up. But if we do that, we put the entire, even this late in the game, we put the entire reimbursement under question. And now we could be on the hook and lose the opportunity to get what's going to be a fantastic facility at the new location. And I look forward to coming forward. I had also had a conversation with Mr. Mobley and previously with Commissioner Bennett that we thought that would be a good idea. And I think we had some citizen comments here at one point that once we kind of get that engineer's design there, that we kind of open it up for a public town hall, that kind of thing, and share with the public so they can see, yeah, we've waited a little while, but look at what's coming on that backside. Look at this beautiful park that we're going to have there. So I just wanted, again, to make it really transparent that we can't just go and do things with those projects and literally with the dirt, because the dirt is part of FEMA's construction side. Now we are working with the current contractor with AMI Nordic. We're working with them to see if we can deconstruct that old boat ramp in such a way that the access to the water is still there while they're continuing to do some of the work in the other area. As I mentioned in an email I think that I sent to Sarah last week, we haven't finalized that, but the contractor, and from the very beginning, has been working with us. We're working towards an option that gives you some sort of option that way, if it's possible. It's also an active construction site, and I don't know what the restrictions are. So
They're not gonna allow anybody on that site, when they begin construction, it would be against their insurance regulations to allow anybody on that work site. I'm surprised they won't have a fence around it.
They probably will.
well, and where that fence lies, right, depending on, and so those are the questions I'm asking them. Can that fence be put up in such a way that that old boat ramp is not in your construction zone
I can
anymore?
tell you, if I was the contractor, the whole place would be fenced off, because they assume liability for anything that happens on
Somebody
that
gets
property
hurt.
once they take it.
Well, could it be phased out where it completed in different phases? Because that will be open for a kayak launch, I believe.
Correct, it would be pedestrian, kayak, and canoe.
Right, so
And
could we phase the completion out where they do that first and rip the old boat ramp out and do a completion of that on the same project?
These are questions that are all viable questions, and again, we are at the direction of the contractor. They're the ones, because the other thing is they've got timeframes, right? And they're worried about water levels and what time
That's
of
right.
year, so there's a lot of, but we are querying, and from the very beginning, we were very clear from the very first RFP meeting. This is what the county wants that thing open as quickly as possible, see what we can do. If there are workable options, we'll bring them back before the board. If they're not, it kind of is what it is. And at this juncture, it's the contractor will tell us what they can and can't, or are willing or not willing to be able to do.
I know it's drug on a long time. I appreciate your overview of where we are. You're not sitting on $548,000 and waiting on something to happen. The county don't have that funds. We are moving forward as fast as we can, and that's what I want people to understand.
Yeah, and rightly so. That $548,000 check is in the mail. Can't tell you when I'm gonna open the mailbox and get it out, but it's in the mail.
And until
Already
that, and
approved.
until that point, we
That's
can't
correct.
move forward.
And we can move forward, but how we move forward and whether or not we
That's
can
right.
access completely
That's
different
gonna be
sources.
up to the contractor, too. It's not gonna be up to the county, it's not gonna be up to your staff, it's gonna be, if the contractor comes in and says, we're gonna fence the site, they're gonna fence the site.
Yep.
And you have really nothing you can say about it.
And I'll make this.
If they
Well,
want
we
to
don't
work
want
with it, they
that
can, but I'm
liability.
gonna tell you, on a contractor's liability insurance, allowing people in and out of your work site, it's just not gonna happen.
And for transparency to the public, because that's partially why we're having these discussions, I'm going to continue to fight for whatever the county's desire is. And the county's desire was to get that thing open and accessible as quickly as possible. We will continue to advocate for that at every turn.
I think every time you go to a contractor and you're asking for to do this, or that, you just prolong the process of getting the complete project finished. Need to let him get in, finish the project and get out, so we'll have a nice boat ramp.
Yes, sir. Are there any other questions that I can answer about any of our projects, about any of the process?
What do we need to be doing as far as funding right now? Requesting for funding or anything on the large project?
We
Because the
should-
large project, I mean, anything less than $1 million, they're gonna start to check for
So
and send.
I want to be very clear that that is going to come in stages, which is percentages.
Yep.
I'm going to punt to Thomas Howell and Ferguson because they're the one who shared those programs with you. But we should be, as a county, having those conversations now on the funding with the state, because that's ultimately who the money's going to come from. FEMA will front a certain percentage of it, and
Right.
I'm being told sometimes as much as 100% to the state, then the state's going to then divvy out. And so on the small projects, I think it's a matter of having conversations with the state on the funding side of it. On the large projects, we should be setting up secondary funding now, and then hopefully we never need it because the checks all come around and the numbers all work out. But if we have issued an RFP and a signed contract, we should have secured funding so that we know, regardless of how much we get from FEMA, we know that we've got the money to get the projects moving
Correct.
forward until the FEMA money comes in.
Not necessarily as much on the small ones, but the large ones for sure.
The large ones for sure.
Yeah,
And-
so
that's the
what,
Steel Bridge
what do we gotta do to start that process, or have we?
The only one that we have over $1 million is the Steel Bridge Road,
Mm.
and so we're not ready quite yet for that one. But like I said, that's conversations we're having with Thomas Howell Ferguson.
I want to, truth in advertising, I want to be very careful, right? I don't want to overpromise. $848,000, is that the number? That's close to $1 million. I think we got to get to 1.1, right? Ups and downs, suddenly fuel costs 15% more. My recommendation is be prepared that anything that's close. So our Shoals Park, that's nowhere near what was the other project? So the Copper Creek's nowhere near, because we only get 141. But I want to say that anything that, I think it's technically 1.2 is where that trigger is at large product. But if we're up close to it, so if we know Steel Bridge is over that number from the start, we're over that number from the start for Box Culvert and 23A, which is our money, our expense, and then the Turner Cemetery Bridge, and rather, I just may want to consider stopgap just in case that thing pushes over that threshold that we've got it set up, rather than getting hit with a, hey, it's now 1.194 and going, uh-oh, we got to go now and start hunting. So if we could go ahead and hedge those bets and be prepared and then say, thank you very much, we don't need it. I'm just a little leery of how things jump up in costs over short periods of time, especially in markets that are as crazy as our markets are right now.
Okay.
And I just say that as a preemptive for the county to prepare itself so that you don't get caught by the short hairs and that thing bump over the small project threshold to a large project, and now we need funding.
Any more comments, observations? Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, gentlemen. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Combs, you're next on the dance floor.
All right, so as quick and painless as possible, we are requesting permission to apply for a hazard mitigation grant for a watershed master plan. So that will kind of be a supplement to the vulnerability assessment that you guys saw earlier. We will use that to build on and to create that watershed master plan. That's going to kind of give us an idea of all that water you saw on that vulnerability assessment earlier. Where are we going to put that water when it comes? So that's kind of what we would do with that. We are still working on completing the application. We've been working with the regional council to complete it. They sent over their portion to us last night, and so we have to still add in a few things on the county level to have that ready to submit. The deadline is the end of this month. It's the 28th of this month. So the total project cost for that grant application is up to $300,000. So that it's going to be based on what you submit. We have to give them a proposed number of what we are requesting. So I do want to say on the
Here might be on this day here.
yeah, was it
More towards the podium. There you go.
yeah. So I will say on the form that I submitted, so the last box is I call it the budget box. So it asks all the budgetary questions. So you'll see the first question, is this in this year's budget? There's nothing in this year's budget. This project would not start until October of 2026. So this would be, we are applying for the grant now, but we are applying for a project that would not be coming to fruition until next budget year. So that's why it is not in this year's budget. So I did misspeak there for the question, is there a county match? So I did initially answer that question, no. There is a county match. It is a 75-25 match for the county, but the match is allowed with in-kind services. So while we would have a 25% match, we are allowed to match that with staffing and in-kind services. So just kind of ballpark what we're looking at right now. Total project cost would be just over $340,000. So while the amount to submit is up to $300,000, that's for the federal match portion. So total project, we're looking right now at about $341,000, with $256,000 of that being that grant match, and then about $85,000 being county match laid out in in-kind services for staff review, and actual work done by staff. So we're not proposing, while on paper there is a match, it would be a match with in-kind services. And then to go a step forward, once that part of that proposal is also linked into that LMS that Dennis was speaking of. So part of the requirements for this is that this watershed plan has to be linked into and part of that LMS strategy, and it has to be made part of that plan. So you would see that on the back end of that as well. One of the application requirements is a letter from LMS stating that, they understand this is to be part of that process. And then upon completion of the project, it would be submitted for CRS review as well, that community rating system, to kind of get us back in good standing on that part as well. That's something we've been working to get back to, so this would go hand in hand with that as well. Again, this would just be permission to apply, and then if accepted, or if we were selected, then you would see us again, and you would have more definitive numbers at that time too. So, any questions?
And you're talking about, Mr. Chair.
Please.
You're talking about staff time. What staff are we talking about?
So staff, that would be myself and emergency management would be the staff involved. For the
GIS and all that?
They would to some extent, yes. Really, any county staff that's on that LMS team, it would be. Yeah,
So a couple of things, very good job of explaining that process. anything that we can do where we can do some of the work can be
Yeah.
claimed. And it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be specialty hours, it could be literally copy and paste and stapling, whatever. So
Right.
anything we can do to participate in that process. I do want to come back and say two things. So this is already on the LMS in a bigger scope. It needs to be tweaked out a little bit, but it's
Yeah.
already there. The other thing that I would like the board to know about this is that H&H comprehensive H&H survey that we've got waiting in the wings, added to the French word, and to the
Charrette.
green roadways and those things. This actually becomes the hat trick to then speed up the process for the Corps to say, they've already done all of these things, let's move forward with the funding for them.
That's what I thought it was. That's what I was trying to clarify.
Yes, yes. So they're all interworking. They all come together at
This
some
would just be
point.
one more step for us to get more federal or state funding on any kind of water.
It would.
management.
So when he presented the vulnerability assessment earlier and he mentioned those
This is one of
potential
the
grants,
steps.
this is one of
That's-
those that he was speaking of, yes.
It's stuff we have to do. I mean, you're gonna, I'm telling you, it's coming to a point now, if you want to qualify for any type of grants,
You
you
could,
gotta jump through all of these
yep,
crazy hurdles to get there.
Yeah.
And I don't think, in the past, we've been reactive. And we're trying to move to more of a
Proactive,
proactive
that's right.
approach, and this is part of that.
It is.
And it all
It
costs
is.
money. But if we can get the government to come in and help us pay for this, I mean, it's a no-brainer for me. We got to move in this direction,
It
which
is.
is what the meetings I've had with EMS and all is. We need to be proactive and not reactive.
Yep.
And that's what they're doing.
This will help us get to that point,
And
to
then-
where we're able to be proactive instead of reactive.
I'm with you on that.
any other comments from the board?
Make a motion to approve to apply for the grant.
We have a motion and a second to apply for the watershed planning grant. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. We're down to the last item on the list. Commissioner Mobley.
That always seems to be Mr. Marvin.
He rounds us out.
There we go. All right, so I wanted to bring this before the board now that we have something a little more concrete. As far as the other post-employment benefits, the proposed fee for a full valuation is a fixed, not to exceed amount of $2,000. It includes the report and anything else necessary to get the auditors comfortable with the results, questions, calls, etc. Full valuations are required every 2 years, and in the in-between interim years, a roll-forward calculation is required. These results are based on the prior year's full valuation results with adjustments. The fee for this will be $300. So for the 25-26 GASB 75 full valuation, $2,000, and for the 26-27 GASB 75 roll-forward calculation, $300. This has been a repeat finding for quite some time on our audits, and it's one thing that I know the board's expressed concern on spending the money whenever it's just a theoretical number or rhetorical number. This is one thing that will get us in compliance and one less thing on our audit findings. So in my opinion, I think we should go forward with it. This is, I'm going to kind of use your words there, it's being proactive on getting rid of all of our findings on our audits. So this is a minuscule amount of money to get something off the report. So I'm in full support of it, and I would, if there's any questions or concerns, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve this proposal and engage with Menard Consulting.
So will the fee be
What do we
the
have? a second on?
300, then it'll be, a second. Will the fee be 2,000 every other year?
It'll be
Is that what it-
2,000 300, 2,000.
Or whatever
300, or if it goes
more.
up over time. Yes, sir.
Or more.
Correct.
It never goes down.
Our employment numbers would have to significantly increase for that number to change. But in time, if the county were to add more employees, thus increasing our liability to have more retirees.
So it's
that
our
number would go.
retirement liability
Yes, sir.
and payout liability that we're failing to always get. That's
Yes,
what
sir.
they're
To
saying.
accurately report.
So
yes.
they're going to look at those numbers and see what might happen and what we would be on the hook for.
Correct.
They give you an estimate.
It's a yes.
Yeah, it is a guess.
This, we've already got with property appraiser, the tax collector, supervisor of elections, sheriff, county, clerk, everybody submitted all their numbers for us to even get this valuation or the proposal of the $2,000.
But if it goes off the rails, you can always look for another consultant too,
Correct.
Exactly.
in the future.
Exactly.
Right. We can get this and it shouldn't take them too long. They should be able to get this in this current audit period, to understand correctly.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Any other comments?
Well, I think everybody knows how I feel about this thing. But being Mr. Mobley feels so strong about this, and he put my words right back into my mouth a while ago of making things right. Even though I don't agree with it, I'm gonna agree with it. It is a small amount of money to clear up a stupid thing that's on our audit. And being all the hard work that Mr. Mobley has done to clean up our financial side of our, it would be not a nice thing for me to do, to vote against him on something he thinks is good for our county. So I'm gonna support Commissioner in his endeavors to clean up the audits for the county, and I'm going to support this amount.
Is that a second?
I'll say that there's a
Already
lot
second.
more than just me on that.
Commissioner
I
Hardy
second.
Yeah.
already.
I would just comment.
There's
We got a
there's
motion.
definitely a lot more than just myself. I mean, finance and everybody's been doing a
Well,
tremendous
I
job. getting
understand,
it.
but
So,
you're the one that's putting the motion forward, and I've already told everybody how much I appreciate it. They've done, and
That's right.
staff, and I really appreciate the staff.
Yep.
On the clerk side and on the county side, but this is something that you put forth for this board to make a decision on, and I'm gonna respect the work that you've done,
yes, sir.
and I'm gonna vote with you, even though I disagree with it. I still wanna vote with you, because I respect what you've done.
Yes, sir.
We have a motion and a second to approve the actuary report expense. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Yeah.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Moving on to prior business. Discussion of
My turn.
operational audit as an action item.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, this is something we discussed at our last county commission meeting. We met with the Auditor General's office. Commissioner Mobley was a part of that conversation, and the County Finance Department as well. The Auditor General has proposed a letter of engagement, and it's just here for discussion, direction from you all. Just for transparency and also to bring Commissioner Iverson up to speed as well. So that estimated cost from the Auditor General's office was around, what they're telling us is we should expect to pay around $100,000 for that operational audit. In addition to that, there is a requirement for a follow-up audit at the 18-month mark. That follow-up audit does have a required cost of 75% of your original cost. So if we're looking at $100,000 for the operational audit, the follow-up audit would cost $75,000 additionally for this county. We've had a lot of conversations about that process over the last couple of weeks. I also have presented you guys with some options for a more enhanced comprehensive financial audit. It is time to go out for RFP to look for a new auditor just because our contract is set to expire. So we have some options to pursue, different avenues. I think from my perspective, learning more about the operational audit's been definitely educational. And listening to you all over the last several months talk about your desire and what you would like to see, the outcome of this audit and the information that you'd like to see, I'm not certain that an operational audit gives you that information. I believe that we can obtain that information that you all are looking for through some different avenues, through our auditing services. Again, we're here to serve at the pleasure of you all, and that's why it's here for discussion and to give you guys some options. We have shared this information with the clerk and with finance staff as well, and asked her to review that documentation on the RFP, and they are doing so currently. We've not heard back from them on that, but they have all the documentation. I know that they're looking into it for us to provide some feedback on what that looks like. So again, just opening up to the floor for discussion for you all and just some direction to staff on what you'd like to see us proceed with.
Any comments from the board?
I would value Mr. Moffitt's comments before I make any. I mean, he's been neck deep in this, so.
Man, I'm struggling with this one. This one's hard. We did meet, I think it was that Thursday, if I write down the name.
Wednesday after the last commission
That's
meeting.
right. They're gonna come and they're not gonna play around. They're coming and they're diving deep into on a lot of the, not really the financial aspect of it, but as it's laid out, an operational side of it.
Right.
One thing they pointed out right out the gate, I think, the sheriff's office, I just lost his name.
Brad.
Brad was here with us as well. And one thing they pointed out from the beginning is this is no other constitutional officers. This is the clerk of courts and the Board of County Commissioners and their operations regarding finance. That is all they're here to look at. So the sheriff's office, supervisor of elections, tax collector, all of those, property appraiser, all of those, they're not looking at any of that. They may look at a portion of it as far as how it comes to county finance, but that's all, because the board went and the clerk went. Those are the two areas that they are only focused on. So it kind of excludes everybody else beyond that scope of work. They were hesitant to confirm the 18-month follow-up, but we did confirm that in a later email.
Yes.
I'm really just looking over all my notes, everything I did. So what they're going to come look at is why do we do what we do? Who does it? Who's responsible for it?
They look to see if you follow state law. They look to see if you follow your own procedures.
GASB, I mean, the whole 9 yards. General Assembly County Standards. They're coming to look at every portion of the operation. Who does it? Who's responsible for it? Why do they do what they do? He said there's always a huge turnaround every time that he comes and audits a county. Not many counties have requested that they come. So he said it's not uncommon that sitting in the room, whenever he asks a question, the answer is, well, that person's no longer here. Or this is the way we done it because of this person being here in that role. So that he's familiar with a lot of turnover, which we have a new finance director at this point. So that was kind of some of the answers that we kind of came up with at that point was like, hey, well, that finance director is no longer here. Here's what we've done to replace it, or to counteract some of the issues that were going on. Looking beyond that, the cost, as we said, was $100,000, a minimum of $100,000. We knew that going over to Tallahassee. We all knew before that it was going to be a minimum of $100,000. So I don't think that sways my opinion any, because we all went over there as a group and requested this. So we knew that going into it, that was going to be that much. We didn't know the follow-up in 18 months would likely come at that point. It'd be 3/4 of that. That's where we're coming up with the $75,000. But in 18 months, they're going to come back and they're going to say, hey, here's what we did, or here's the findings that we gave the board and the clerk. What have you done with those findings to to
Fix
get
it.
right. You know what I mean? In layman's terms. So that was one of the things that were pointed out.
And everything you described is under the best case scenario. There are some of these operational audits and follow-ups that go on for years.
Yeah.
Hmm. They didn't go. I mean,
Right.
all they listed.
Just look
was
around at some of counties around us and you'll see one of them had a 5-year.
I sat in on meetings with some of them, and they heard what we was requesting, and they
I mean, I'll be honest. The auditor. I mean, he sat there with his laptop and he closed his laptop in front of us and said, "Are y'all sure? Are you sure you want to do this? You're asking us to come over and do this. Are you sure?" And then that's whenever we also brought up the RFP and the possibility of changing auditors, and he kind of was he was asking the same thing. Like, if y'all are going out for RFP, maybe that's something you include there. That's why I've had such a hard time with it, because I think in my opinion, we're trying to regain public trust when it comes to our finances right now, and why could be answered in this, but it also couldn't be answered. I mean, it's kind of like, hey, well, we already knew that we're untimely on our bank rates. Well, here's why we're untimely. Here's what we're doing to fix it. I think the clerk has done a good job of trying to fix some of these problems, especially with adding CKH in, a new finance director, and kind of some new policies. So we are going in that direction. However, we wouldn't ask for it. So that's where we're at right now. Still, my stomach's hurting either way, and that's.
the problem I have with it is, I don't have a problem with them coming in and doing that, but the problem is what they're gonna do after. And that's what I'm hearing, is the after.
The 18-month follow-up?
Continue.
Could be up to 5 years or longer. And the problem is some of the requests that they put on you that you need to do might be hiring 3 more people. It might be moving people around. They come in and when they make their opinions, and then they come back in 18 months, say, well, you didn't hire these 3 people. We don't have the money to hire the 3 people. You've seen that in our finances. They don't care. Figured out. So it's the same thing with this $2,000 we just spent on something that don't mean anything because the state told us we had to do it. And if you don't do it, you get penalized.
I thought you were in favor of this like a few minutes ago.
I am. I told you I was against it, but I wrote it. And this is one of those same things. After I got down and dug into the weeds and listened and then talked to, the nice thing about being in a regional council is you get to talk to other people in your region, and you learn, and you talk to them, and you learn things from them, what to do and what not to do. And when that guy closed this, and I'm glad you said that, when he closed this computer and said, is it what you think y'all want to do? That answers my question right then. If he's asking that question, I don't think we need to do that. I think we need to go the other route, which is the route of, I'm not closing the door. And I think that we need help and to get back on track. I think that the public needs help getting back on track. I think that the clerk needs help getting back on track, and she's working good. I'm not knocking her. But if we can get an audit like we normally do, and then go in and start auditing other things to keep us in line and show us what we're doing wrong, we can do it that way. It's still gonna cost us 40, 50 grand. But we can do that for 3 years, what it's gonna cost us for 18 months with the state. And then I don't think you ever wanna make them happy. So, but we can't even do what, well, we did it, we paid $2,000. The requirements that they put on you now, they send all the next requirement they're gonna send to you, they probably wanna go down to 39 counties instead of having the 69 we have now, because they want all big counties, they don't want small counties. So we're gonna agree with that. This is the state. Or we're going to agree with them taking away all the property taxes and then us figure out how we're gonna pay our share. This is the same people that we're asking to come into Baker County and look at our finances. So I've dug deeper.
What?
And some of the stuff I've heard, I think they do a great job over there, and I support the state. I'm not talking bad about the state, but is that what we want in this Ardell County?
Well, I'm thinking too, we have moved forward a lot better than we were. We have a CPA that's doing finance now, which we've never had for this county as long as I've been sitting here. And we are hiring an assistant when they get hired. We put things in place that we've seen. We're going to get more of an audit that we can look at. To me, this really doesn't tell us what we really want to know. I mean, we're going to find out that separation of duties is going to come up, and we can't do that because we're a small county, and you don't have enough people and staff. So they could recommend all those things, just like Commissioner Anderson was saying. And I'm definitely not for the audit. I think we're in the right direction to get our house in order ourselves. So that's my opinion.
To rebuttal one of those, that this is operation, you know, so I mean, they're not coming to look at any finances.
Right.
That's just how we do it.
How we do it.
And I mean, one of the things he pointed out was 9 out of the last 10 years, we've been late. Why?
Right.
And so that's what they're here to do, is look at why we're audits continually being late.
And our finance director that we had for all those years that could answer those questions aren't here to answer it.
It's gone.
Which, I mean, that
Which could be a problem.
which could be the answer.
Exactly.
I mean, that's literally what they sat in there and said, hey, a lot of times we get the answer, hey, that person's no longer here. Or, hey, here's what we've done, or here's how it was done in the past, and that's the answer. So that's what they're looking at, but they're here to strictly figure out why.
But operation things will be like, did you bid this out the right way? Did you open up a bid when you had 2 instead of 3 and you shouldn't have waited? Did you get the I-9 from the employer? Do you have the E-Verified certifications? Do you have the insurance requirements? When you have a continuing contract, you got an insurance certificate that expired. Did you go get a new one? It's all that kind of stuff.
Correct. That's right. And who's responsible to do that? Is it county finance? Is it the clerk? And they look at that kind of stuff. Which I mean, he said it's not gonna help anything. I mean, I know we still have a pending lawsuit. It's not gonna help anything answer that question. It'll just be, you know, strictly on who's responsible to do what.
I may as well voice my opinion. I think the operational audit could be helpful. Do I think it's worth the county spending $175,000 and asking somebody to tell us, you've got to do these other things? I think we've made progress moving forward. We're able to work with the clerk's office. We're able to work with the new chief financial person. We've already cleared up a lot of the whys. Why was this happening? We've already fixed those issues. So I'm not sure that it's worth $175,000 to ask the state to come in at this point. One of my concerns is the audit we're in right now. So do we wait and have a more robust audit down the road at some point? We need to restore voter confidence in our financial system sooner rather than later. So if we choose not to do an operational audit, I would like to see us find a route to help ensure voter confidence in the county's finances sooner rather than 25, 26 year audit. So that's my thoughts on it.
I will jump in real quick if you don't mind. The question there, we are in the middle of an audit. That was brought up while we were sitting there. You know, I think we reached out. Was it you that sent the email?
Yeah.
just to request like, hey, what's the status? You know, like we went over, JLAC approved it, and then we kind of went stagnant for a little while. So all we did was reach out and say, hey, what's the status? I think JLAC took that, or not JLAC, but the Auditor General's office took that as, hey, they're ready for us right now. Let's get the ball rolling. Wham, bam, they're here within a week. And then they're saying, hey, we thought y'all were just ready for this. And we're like, no, we were really just trying to figure out what's the process. We've never done it. And so one of the things we talked about in there is like, we're trying to work through our current financial audit. So if we do this right now in the middle of it, our staff isn't going to have time to do both. And so we're really trying to push it off a little bit and say, hey, we're planning on having everything done April. I want to say is what they spoke about. I couldn't find it in my notes right here. We were planning on having start after April. There it is, where we should have everything submitted to James Moore by April. So at that point, they were already planning on coming April, May-ish anyways. So this is not going to delay the current financial audit that we're doing. It'll just be as soon as we get done with that one, then the state's going to move in and start the next one if that's how we proceed. Does that answer your question? I'm going to kind of clarify that a little bit. It's not something that's going to happen immediately. They already kind of had us penciled in for April, May.
Any other comments from the board?
What decision you need from us tonight?
Just one more piece of information too. Part of this meeting afterwards, just the clerk staff and county staff were talking, and we had brought up the possibility of quarterly reports from our CFO to you all, just to give a financial update publicly here in the commission meetings, so that questions could be answered and we could talk, in a more transparent manner. And they were agreeable to that too. And I think that steps like that are working in the right direction.
And requiring that same communication from our auditors.
Yes, sir.
I've not seen that since I've been here.
Yes, sir. But to answer your question, Mr. Chairman, what we need from you all tonight is just information on whether or not we need to engage in the letter, or if we need to make notification to JLAC for an abeyance of our request. That's the term that we've asked for, because JLAC is not in session until later this year. So they could not, as a committee, vote to rescind their direction, but their chairman could approve an abeyance, which means that they just put it on pause until they could meet, and at which time they could rescind their direction to the Auditor General's office to formally stop the audit. No work would be done in the process, but the formal term is an abeyance. So we need just some staff direction from you all on what angle you'd like me to take.
Any other comments? What's the pleasure of the board?
Well, in light of what I have learned from other commissioners that has been through this process, I am definitely going to recommend against it, but I'm not recommending against. I think the idea of having a quarterly, the clerk and the finance come over here and opening up and talking, and also want to move ahead with some type of an audit that we can do. I know you're working on that already, so if you and Commissioner Mobby can get that together and get it back to the board so we can move forward on that.
Yes, sir.
And not have to wait. And, but I definitely don't want to, with the information that I've learned over the past, say, month or so, I don't think it would be a good move for the county to move in, not only with the financial part, it's the other parts that concern me more than the financial part. And so I think we're already moving in the right direction. We have a new finance clerk over there. I think she's doing a great job. She's answered every question that we've had. And if she didn't have the answer, she went back and worked hard and got it and brought it back to us. We didn't have that in a while. And I can see us moving to the positive side. But I don't want to go to sleep and just think everything's okay, because it's not. They need help and we need help to get on the right track. So I'm going to say that I would disagree, or we need to move out of this with the state It's been done before. It's not the first, we're not the first county that's asked for help and then decided not to do it. So don't think we're the first. But with the light of what I have heard from my fellow commissioners and other counties that has been in this process, I just don't think it's something that we want to get into.
Is that your motion?
That's my motion.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to abandon the request for an operational audit from the state.
Maybe withdraw.
Withdraw.
Abandon sounds like we're not gonna do anything, and I think we need to make an affirmative request to them to withdraw our.
Okay, an affirmative request to withdraw from the state operational audit. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. We got 3 in favor and 1 opposed.
No, we need to have
Everybody
5
has to
votes.
vote.
Everybody
You
has
had
to
5
vote.
votes.
Then
You had
have
to vote.
4, however it comes.
Did you vote?
Chairman has to vote too.
Did you vote?
I didn't vote, I'm thinking.
Okay.
I think, Chair, when we come to this situation, you need to do a roll call vote.
Yeah, maybe so.
We ready to do a roll call vote?
Miss Sarah, if you'll lead a roll
Miss
call
Sarah?
vote.
Sure. Commissioner Hartley?
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Mobley?
No.
Commissioner Iverson?
Yes.
Chair?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-1.
That's a big step for the board. Moving on to pending business report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just let me flip to the right page here. All right, starting at the top, COA bus wash, still just pending on this list until we receive that final disbursement from the state. We actually hit on this a little bit earlier when Dennis was talking about that slowdown at a state level. They are issuing reimbursements at a much slower rate. However, we don't anticipate any issues. Like I said, everything has been submitted. We're just holding on that project until we actually receive those funds. Moving down the list onto boat ramp phase 1. Again, we've talked about that pretty heavily through our FEMA projects. These are overlapping on that project. But for our reference here, that project will remain on our pending business list because our FWC grant is still active, which is what prompted this pending business item originally. So FWC has agreed to keep that grant open until we can reconstruct the new boat ramp facility, at which time we will go through the closeout process on that grant. So again, this is just another placeholder until we move a little further along in the FEMA process, at which time we'll be able to close that out. And please stop me if I'm moving too fast and you guys have any questions. St. Mary's Cove Boat Ramp Phase 2. Again, this project actually is going through a closeout process and reimbursement now as we speak. So final plans and documentations have all been closed out. This was for the design of a bathroom facility and some lighting, for the parking lot. Again, no construction on that project. Again, the plans themselves are complete, and we are, like I said, working through a closeout process with FWC. Shoals Park improvements. At our last county commission meeting, we actually approved some contracts to extend our current site attendant and to establish a contract with a new site attendant. So both of those people are on site, and they're working out well so far. No issues or concerns there. Senior Life Enrichment Center for the Council on Aging. Again, just another project that's in the middle of a closeout process until we receive the reimbursement from the state. Again, this one will just continue to hold a placeholder. The next item, Kyler Fire Station. Again, kind of same situation with this one. Kyler Fire Station, the last leg of that project was the purchase of a mobile home for the living quarters for the employees that would be housed there. Unfortunately, we don't have those staff on hand, and so there is no need to purchase that mobile home until we are at a point where we can fund those positions. So again, this is just a placeholder because of that project not formally being closed out. Like I said, once we get the staff in place and we can purchase that mobile home, we'll be at 100% completion for that project. NAB Sports Complex Appropriation Project. We talked about this at our last county commission meeting. So that appropriation that we had received for the large portion of this renovation to that facility was complete. We have submitted all of that paperwork to the state, and we are anticipating as soon as the state processes those payments, $600,000 to be reimbursed to the county for that appropriation. Again, the ARPA fund funded that entire project. So when that reimbursement is received, it will go back into that ARPA account. And once Little League season wraps up here, we'll start talking that next phase of construction. I have had some conversations with the Little League president in the last couple of days, and I know Commissioner Mobley has kind of talked with them too. So they're aware of that information, and they're supposed to reach out to me in the next couple of days for us to sit down and get a schedule together on what that construction looks like. But again, that would be the construction of a new concession stand and restroom complex. Taking down that old 2-story announcer's booth that's kind of in the way. And then there's some field rework also that some of those fields were not completed, so we're going to be able to do those as well.
Yes, sir. Is Commissioner Mobley going to be in that meeting with you?
He is welcome to attend if you'd like to.
I was going to recommend if I could be there because we're talking construction.
Yes, sir.
And I want to find out exactly what they're planning on doing.
Yeah.
If he's going to be there, that's fine, but if not.
We haven't set a date or talked about it, so that's up to you guys.
Either one.
Just keep me apprised of when they're going to be doing it, because
Absolutely.
I want to get in on that construction side of it, because I'm not quite sure on what they're planning on doing there.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Yeah, they're going to do like a kind of a farmhouse looking concession stand, electrical room that's going to control all lights and everything there.
Yeah, restrooms on one end, concession stand on the other, covered pavilion built off of it so that their picnic tables can be under the shade.
Under a porch.
Under
kind
a
of
porch,
deal,
yes.
if I understand correctly.
Yeah,
so.
we've got a draft plan that Brian Rao has been working on for us, but most certainly when I set the meeting, I can coordinate to see if that one of the two of you are there.
Thank you.
While we're on, can I add to that real quick?
Absolutely.
On one thing that we did do this week, on the quad fields, they Todd Sandlin with Ring Power actually donated a boom lift for us, and so we were able to. County staff was able to get up there today. I think they replaced 12 of the 33 lights that are out right now on that quad field.
Yeah.
Because right now it's hardly usable at
Right.
6:30.
Pretty dark.
Yeah, it's pretty dark, especially on the one field, but I think both of the lines were clipped going to those poles. So that's something I definitely want to look at. And phase 2, if we have any remaining money, to try to figure out a way to loop that whole system together
Absolutely.
on all of those lights.
Yeah.
I know Cogburn, I think.
I know a lot of times if you get with FBL on that stuff, they like to help when it comes to
We
Little
talked
League.
about that, and they wanted the conversion to LED as part of that request, and that was really costly. But
Okay.
again, it has been a few years since we've had conversations with FBL, so we're certainly open to
Sometimes
having.
they'll look at coming in and they got grants that they come in and they'll do the LED lights and all. I know they're going to help. They're helping us on the COE center out here. They're going to put all the lights in
absolutely.
it.
Another hurdle with that one too is changing out is we're on a really old grandfathered recreation rate for that complex that they don't offer anymore. So the rate that we pay per hour to run those lights is very low in comparison to what it is now.
Well, just keep my mouth shut. And
Yeah,
just go about your business.
and that was part of the problem is that they could not guarantee.
I didn't
that
say
we would-
anything. You ain't hear
that
nothing
they could not guarantee that we would remain on the same rate that we
Right.
were now because it doesn't exist anymore.
You don't have to say no more.
Yes, sir. We will try our best to do what is best
Right.
and financially feasible for us.
I didn't
though.
know that, and I will keep my mouth
Yes,
shut.
sir. The courthouse generator appropriation project, we are actually working really well on that one. The equipment and the switch has been delivered and installed, or excuse me, I should say the equipment's been installed. The switch is in process this week. Actually, they've been over there working. We are scheduled for a full building connection on March 30th. We will have some public notices go out because that does require the courthouse to be completely shut down, as well as our office and community development for that day. In addition to the full shutdown of offices, there are some limitations that other offices will have because the courthouse is the central hub to all of our infrastructure for our IT equipment. So that public announcement will come out this week, detailing what some of those are. Most of the other ones, they may not have phone service that day, but we want to make sure that the public is well aware if they're calling those offices, why they're not able to get through to them. So we'll make sure that that goes out this week and again weekly until we get to March 30th. That date specifically
Make sure
was...
it makes the press too.
Yes, sir, absolutely. That date specifically was chosen because FPL requires at least a 3-week notice, and that date was already available on the court schedule, so it was least disruptive to everyone in the courthouse. So, and plus, it does give our public plenty of advance notice to know when those are. So, we will definitely get with the press. Like I said, we'll do lots of weekly notices on that so people understand why those offices are closed. Our web services will also be down for that day, but there will be no disruptions to any emergency services at all. That's all a completely separate network, but again, that public notice will make that announcement. Moving down the list, Sanderson Center, I have not actually been able to make contact with Mr. Doug Moore in the last couple of days, but we know the materials have been delivered and they're working there on that project. So we'll try to go out and get some pictures between now and the next commission meeting so you guys can see what that project looks like. But there's no concerns there. I just don't have a more formal update than just the general. We know that it's progressing and there's no problems. And last but not...
Miss Sarah, when you get some pictures of that, how about post them on our website too?
We can
Because
do
this
that.
is a community project that people's working on, and they need to be recognized for that.
Yes,
So,
sir, certainly.
They
if you
got
don't
the
mind.
tree removed, the electrical, the meter box was being pushed over by a tree and it was all messed up. They got all that straightened back out.
Yes,
They're
sir.
back on the building of the bathroom now, so we're moving forward. It may not be at a lightning pace, but we are moving forward.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And then last but not least is the community development permit software. We made this update at the last commission meeting that unfortunately the developer had us in a pause category on programming. We have not been able to determine why that decision was made. It was not at our direction. So since that time, we've made that clarification that there's no reason to pause programming, continue moving forward. And so that we're looking hopeful for the next couple of weeks to have that wrapped up. But we were finally able to get an answer. I said we didn't understand the answer that we were provided, but we were provided the information. So again, we'll stay on top of that so that we make sure that that project makes it to completion relatively soon because it has been one that we are anxiously awaiting. I know the people that get permits and things too would like to see that one completed. Unless there are any further questions, Mr. Chairman, that is it for my pending business report.
Hey, can I ask a question, Chairman?
Yes, please.
Are we shutting the courthouse down on Monday and Tuesday for the generator? Or is that already a...
Right, so March 30th will be the shutdown day. We're scheduled for the 31st. Just as a hold date, we don't anticipate the project exceeding one day. And in the event that it does, we've made sure that that the court is not in session for the 31st as well.
Why aren't we doing it on the weekend?
FPL was not able to accommodate that request.
You should have been at the last meeting. I asked the same question.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I still don't, okay. Now, I'm gonna leave it alone then. It sounds like it's already been discussed.
It's been
Yes, sir.
discussed. But
Okay.
good question though.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Okay.
And well, I'm right there with you, but that was a good
It makes
question.
sense.
I've had okay.
Out of our control.
I'm gonna take your word for it.
Yes, sir. We understand that confusion as well. Any further questions?
Expense report over 5,000.
Nothing to report unless there's any questions, Mr. Chairman.
American Rescue Plan Phase 1 and 2.
There are no updates to this report at this time, Mr. Chairman, but once we do receive that reimbursement from the state for the NAB appropriation complex, we will see some activity on that account.
And we're down to the county manager grant application and acceptance policy.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll try to keep this brief. I know it's been a long day for everyone. So this policy just identifies how we talk about grant applications and acceptances moving forward. And so basically, you can see it's a very simple form. We've gotten it broken down into a couple of options. So, and this is just for consideration. If you guys would like to take some time to digest this, I most certainly don't have to have a decision tonight. We can always bring it back. Like I said, I know it's 8:30 and you guys have been here a long time. But what this policy says is just gives a clear direction to staff on how we handle grants. If there's a grant application that has no local match, that information would be submitted to me, to the county manager for review. And as long as there was no concern, staff would be allowed to proceed with the submittal on that grant application. If the grant application had a local match up to $10,000 that was included in the budget, meaning that we had talked about it in this room as part of the budget process, and we were anticipating that to be a grant we applied for. Again, the county manager would review that application and allow staff to submit as long as it met those parameters. What we would do for any grant applications requiring a local match greater than $10,000 or any local match that was not budgeted would still come before you all for approval before we submitted the application itself. The process for grant acceptance would not change because bringing that acceptance to you all is what starts the process for us to input that into our budget. So you all would still be required to accept any money that we received. But again, it just kind of streamlines our process a little more on grants that have zero match. So you guys, you see those a lot of times. It's a really quick turnaround. We might find out about a grant on a Monday, and we've got the capability to submit a grant application by Friday. Well, if we don't have a commission meeting that week, sometimes that may delay us. So again, we don't want to make any changes to the process if it requires any kind of financial responsibility of the board or of the county. Specifically, it would be those grants that we've actually talked about. So like I said, that summarizes it. Grants no match would be county manager authority. Grants with a $10,000 budgeted match would be county manager, and then grant applications greater than 10 local match or not budgeted local match would be you all. So again, if it's food for thought, you guys want to digest that more, I certainly understand that. If not, staff looks for discussion and hopefully approval on the process that was presented to you all.
You may want to include that all grants applied for, that the commission would get a report on it, even if it's in the consent agenda, so that if somebody asks the commissioner, the commissioner are up to speed of knowing what's applied for.
Yeah, I was going to recommend that as well.
Sure. Some sort of notification back to the board that it's been submitted. Absolutely. We've got no issue with that.
Mr. Chairman, the only thing I would kind of have hesitant on the grant thing is if it's a grant you approve with zero match, but then it's going to add employees, and then we're going to have to pick those employees up after 2 years or 1 year or 3 years. I want to know that. I don't want that to, in 3 years, say, oh, well, that was zero match, but now you got to pick up those people or you got to fire them.
Yes, sir.
And we've had that happen.
I would absolutely agree with that. To me, from my perspective, and we can clarify that in this document, but that would require future budgetary concerns as well.
Yeah, so if you could put
yes, sir,
that
absolutely.
as a thing.
Yeah.
I could-
If you could update that
Yeah.
part there.
For any future.
If there's
Or
any
any
kind
future,
of, any
correct.
kind of expense, future,
obligations.
whatever it is.
Correct.
Absolutely.
You know, if it's a computer system, whatever.
Right.
You know, if it-
I know I'm not gonna be favored here, but I don't like that. I think all grants that's gonna affect this county should come before this board. I'm, as small as they are, or big as they are, when they come before the board, they're in the public sees what's going on. And I'm a full believer in being completely open to the public, and sometimes I'm too open to the public because I say things I probably shouldn't say, and I have to backtrack. I know it simplifies the process, and I can understand that part of it, but the transparency to me gets kind of hid in this. And then I also like to know what's happening, like Rich said, and I don't like to see it in the consent agenda because what's in the consent agenda, the people don't know what's going on. So I'm thinking, let's leave things alone like they're going now. When you got a grant that y'all want to apply for, y'all bring them to the board, and we'll give you a good Hail Mary and a pat on the back and pray with y'all and help y'all get the grant.
Yes, sir.
I just don't think this is this is not what I'm looking for to make things more efficient, because I think it's not, I don't want to say it's not transparent, but I like transparency, and then when you're asking for a grant, you come in before us, and then we can know then if there's gonna be any employees, there's gonna be any future budget. We don't have to go through the line and look, and you don't have to guess. It just takes the guess out. If it's got something to do with the budget and it's gonna affect this county, I think it should come before this board.
Okay.
I know I'm not the favorite
Hey,
thing.
listen, I have no issues with it either way. I said we had talked about it and kind of just internally streamlining things. But I mean, there's the rare occasion that we might run into a grant that has some type of quick deadline, but that's not.
It's not
It's
very
not
often,
often.
and if it is, we can, and you
Right.
can, you can actually call your chairman, and he can override, and then you can bring it back to the board, and say, this is what I've done. We can
Right.
always cancel it.
Sure.
So there's ways of working around that through the chair.
Right.
He has that authority.
Right.
But the thing is, I don't want to take that away from the people who's presenting the grant or us giving the approval to seek the grant. I think that's something the county needs to be, the commissioners need to be making that, not you.
Okay.
Any other comments?
I'm just one commissioner now. Y'all can vote against me.
No, if everyone's in
No, I
agreement with that,
kinda-
like I said, I have
I kinda
no
like it
personal
coming in
feelings
front of
about
us,
it.
too.
I mean, it's just good.
Yeah, it's fine the way
Good
we're continuing to do
publicity,
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would
people.
agree. I do like to see them, because, I mean, then we get asked the questions.
Okay.
Up front in public. I mean, I wouldn't be in favor of this, I would have to make some modifications to it.
Right.
Other than that, I mean, I do enjoy them coming up here.
I think the consensus is to keep it the way it is.
We can do that.
And you have helped us a lot with this paper that you get put in front of it, that we can read through, and it
Yes,
kind of
sir.
breaks down, we ain't got to read everything. So you've already making it more efficient for us.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And I appreciate you trying to do that, but it's just, to me, this is
Right.
just the right way to do it.
Yes, sir. We understand. No issues.
All right. County manager's comments?
I have no further comments, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Attorney?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a heads up that I'll be contacting each of y'all individually to talk about some litigation issues, but nothing we have to discuss publicly tonight.
Mr. Mobley?
Yes, one question, I wrote it down tonight, was the Ag Center. Did we ever get a rate established for that? I thought we were supposed to have a.
So we were, but the staff is working on that. The information that she had was actually more outdated than she felt comfortable presenting. So she had those numbers, but it had been, like I said, longer than what she felt comfortable presenting. So we're very close to being able to open that facility. There's 2 sets of double doors that still need to be installed, one that we have not received at all yet, so we're still waiting for delivering on that. And then there's some cabinets that have to be constructed in the 4-H classroom. So we're still a few weeks away from being able to open anyway. But it is scheduled for your next commission meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, she
new
felt,
rate will be
yes,
scheduled?
yeah, and the
Okay.
new contract as well for the Sanderson Center. So, like I said, she had all that information, but because of the time in which she had collected all that, like I said, she really felt more comfortable going back and making sure there were no changes to those comparison facilities that she had looked at before.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good. Other than that, all I have was Commissioner Iverson. Welcome to the board. We
Good
look
night.
forward to working with you, and buckle up.
Commissioner Iverson, excuse me, I'm tongue-tied tonight. Any comments from your first meeting?
Thank you for the acceptance, and I look forward to working with you guys.
We got a lot to do.
We do.
We made some hard decisions tonight, and we got more to come. Commissioner Hartley?
Commissioner Mobley got mine for me, so that was my question on the Ag Center, and I'm glad Commissioner Iverson is with us, and looking forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yes, sir. I got a couple things. The only thing, I am officially now, they elected me in as the new chairman, or they call it president, new president of the regional council for Northeast Florida, so.
We
Congratulations.
expect good things for Baker County.
You know I fight for Baker County.
Do we have to refer to you as Mr. President now?
No, that's Trump. But anyway, and then also I have a meeting set up with the COA. I'm sure that they have a list of items and issues that I'm gonna have to address, and they'll be coming back before the board, so be prepared.
Are we, where are we with that? Are we knocking the list out?
I
Warranties
will
are gonna
bring,
run out,
I
right?
will, be bringing something back to you. I'm sure, I don't know, I haven't met with them yet, but I'm sure when I have these meetings, that's what it's for. So,
I've had calls about that too.
So-
Ongoing problems there, so.
so we need to nip it in the butt.
Yeah.
But the only way to do that is, get a meeting, get the hard, what's wrong, what ain't wrong, and
Well, we got the right person going over there,
and
so
then
that's
we
a
can
good
see
thing.
what we can do. And there's no, I mean, they're not angry or passing or nothing, they just want to make us aware. That's
Yeah.
all it is,
That's good.
okay?
That's good.
But that will be coming before y'all, probably by the next meeting.
Okay. I don't have a lot. I was gonna inquire about the rental rates again. Glad we got that on the agenda for the next meeting. We had some tough decisions here today, and we had a new member on the commission. Very proud and pleased to have him with us.
Yep.
And look forward to working with you and getting things accomplished for the county. I have to recognize that we've talked a lot about finances and audits and everything else. We are making improvements. We have come a long way from where we were a year ago this time. The new CFO is working well with us. I think we've improved the relationships between the clerk's office and the board. I'm very pleased with where we're going. We still have a ways to go. So we need to have an action item on the next agenda to discuss what our audits are going to be like, if we're going to amend the audit we're in. And I'd like to see that on the next agenda to make sure that we don't drag on until the audit's almost complete and then decide we're going to do something different. We need to decide early on what we're going to do. And I've already mentioned before that I'd like us to start the budget conversation in late June or early July at the latest. I don't want to wait until the first meeting in August like we have at times in the past. So I think we're in position to do that, and I hope we can make that work out for all of us. That's all I have.
Move to adjourn.
We're adjourned.
Cool.